Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome. It's another Thursday night at the Sports Crib, and welcome to 2022. Uh, our world traveler is back. Mr. Demetrius Burgess. Demetrius, how are you doing tonight, my man?
Mr. King, it's good to be back. I miss the guys. I miss my time on Thursday night, what we do. I'm excited to be back here. Good to see you in your Steelers championship shirt, always representing. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, I'm looking for Bill and the boys. Yeah, I know Mike's going to join us a little bit later, but I see we've switched to baseball.
Yeah, we had to transition.
It-
We had to transition at some point. It's a little early. I could have went Michigan State, but I didn't want to rub it in Mike's face. His boys ran from us on Saturday. They were scared, so they postponed the basketball game. So I figured I'd go baseball tonight.
Yeah, no, it's kind of funny that you mentioned that because I did read the article about the Michigan basketball team and the struggles that they're having this year. But this is usually when time of year you guys get your revenge anyway, so it's not really anything new.
Yeah.
I
I tell people it's scary when Tom Izzo's team is 14-2, and their only two losses were to like the number 3 Kansas, number 6 Baylor. This is December Tom Izzo teams. They don't usually have their stuff together. You don't want any part of a February Tom Izzo team. We're 14-2 now. You might want to look out.
I wanted to get Mr. Daly and John because of the passing of Dan Reeves.
Oh, Clint. I'm sorry, you mean Clint, right? It would be
Clint,
great if you can get the golfer John Daly. That'd be awesome. But yeah, I was curious if Clint was going to make it because it went under the radar because of Madden. But you're right, Dan Reeves was next level. That guy's on a list, right? He's one of the best to do that.
Hey, but you want to look for. I mean, I remember, I used to despise his teams because you knew they were prepared.
Exactly.
And once again, you're talking about that series of old school coaches.
Yeah.
So
that was an unfortunate one. Like I said, I thought it flew under the radar because it was a day or two. It was right around the same time as Matt.
It was close to the same time, and it might have been within 2 or 3 days of each other, something like that. Yeah, but
he'll get his recognition. He deserves it. That guy was good. He took Atlanta. He certainly did damage in Denver. That's a good coach. He coached the Giants too, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he did for a couple of years. It wasn't. I think those were kind of like Belichick's years at Cleveland. Exactly. He was there, but we don't want to mention those days.
Right.
Yeah. But someone who will be here in perpetuity is John Madden. I mean, the video game, it has actually taken on a life of its own. So I mean, even though the future generations might not exactly have the interaction with Madden to know who he was, but the video game will certainly, that will live on for decades, generations.
There are kids who may not even realize he used to be a coach. They just think he's the dude who came up with the video game. And it's such a part of our culture. It is hard to even quantify, right? Like, even guys like my age, I literally still play Madden with my brother-in-law and friends to this day. I played Madden this morning, right? And we just call it Madden, not the video football game. It's kind of like some names take on the product. If someone says, "Give me a Kleenex," Kleenex is a brand of tissue. There's a bunch of brands of tissue, but it's give me a Kleenex. You don't. There is no other video football game. There's no point to making another football game because it's Madden. That's what it is. Do you want to play Madden? What is that? That we all know what that is. And guess what? Before that, he was a great football coach, right? And there are people who don't even realize that. And that's amazing.
Oh, I mean, look at what he did with the Raiders. I mean, you talk about uh, the behavior of uh, Tom Brady throwing a tablet.
Right.
I mean, how many things? How many things did Madden throw on the sideline as a coach for the Raiders? I
Yeah.
mean,
And this was in a time where the league wasn't doing salary cap and revenue sharing. Every team wasn't equal. So he was playing for a Maverick owner with a Maverick team in Oakland, California, right? He didn't have a glamour team with a glamour roster. He had all the dudes that nobody else wanted. And he took them all and took them out to Oakland and they cheated and they fought and they played dirty and they hurt people and they did all those things, but he was a heck of a coach, and he deserves everything. I'm glad he got recognized. They did a real good tribute just a couple of months ago. That was pretty cool. That he got to see that before he passed.
The one on HBO.
Yes,
Madden.
yeah.
I think I've recorded that, and
Yeah, it's worth it.
just well, I mean, the last days of a great man.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
Big bear of a man too. Wasn't no little guy.
He was not. He was not. That was a good sized guy.
Yeah, I think that's why he loved his linemen and
Yeah.
was it the turducken and all of that.
And so for years I thought that was just a joke. I guess it's a real thing. I mean, as we sit here today, I can't say I've ever had turducken. And for the people who listen to SportsKRIB who don't know what we're talking about, apparently somebody decided to, correct me if I'm wrong, stick a chicken inside of a duck and then stick that into a turkey and make it for Thanksgiving. So you have like all three meats in one dish.
Right.
The most absurd thing I've ever heard in my life. But he came up with it, called it a turducken, and it took on a life of its own. And it's been 15, 20 years for the turducken. I haven't had any. Ask Bill or someone else who most likely.
I haven't, mainly because I don't like duck.
Right.
I haven't really tried it. I mean, it sounds fascinating.
I feel like Don Hayes would try it. I feel like Don Hayes probably tried it.
Well, I'm not sure it was around when he was in college or not.
No, it hasn't been around. It's a 15, 20 years thing. It hasn't been that long. He did that probably when he was broadcasting on Fox in the mid to late 90s.
It was him and I know it was him and Pat Summerall. Yeah. That introduced it.
And for years I thought it was fake. I didn't think it was a real thing. I thought it was a joke. But apparently people make it.
No, I mean there's actually videos of him cutting it and the players, passing the legs out to the players and the whole 9 yards.
I feel like that's something people can just tell me about. I'm like, y'all can tell me about that one. I'm a pass.
But let's see some of the other things that have transpired here. I hit Bill up. It's unusual not to see Bill.
Yeah, I was looking forward to talking to my friend tonight. Maybe he'll catch up with us at some point.
Yeah, but and I'm sure Don is taking care of some type of school activities. But as I said, Mike will be joining us as we get to the football part.
I might go change shirts when Mike joins. Throw on a Michigan shirt. Just remind him of their only loss before they took that beat down to Georgia, and what should have happened last Saturday. But it's all fun. I'm more worried about his coach. I want to hear Mike talk about what's going on.
Yeah.
That's way more interesting.
Yeah. But me and Mike.
Wait. I feel like you owe Mike Tomlin an apology. I feel like earlier this year you were just saying stuff about you might even owe Ben an apology.
No.
Back in the playoffs where you always are, and you don't feel like you owe Ben an apology.
I do not feel like I owe Ben an apology. And I definitely do not feel like I owe Mike an apology because I've always said that Mike is one of the best coaches in football. I've never blamed
Okay, that's fair.
Mike Tomlin
Yeah.
for Big Ben's presence. That was on the owner. That wasn't on Mike.
So Ben has earned no points, gotten back into your heart at all, even though he's led you to the playoffs again.
Wait a minute, hold it. 123 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception.
Okay, all right. So it wasn't him. It wasn't him. I guess you make a good point. It wasn't him. It wasn't him. But I think you're done with him, right?
If anyone proved themselves to me this season, it would be Najee Harris.
Najee, yeah.
You know,
Which we knew when you guys drafted him. We talked about it, and we said perfect fit, maybe the most predictable draft pick of that night was Najee Harris becoming a Steeler. Made a lot of sense,
right? Yeah. And I'm actually, now, it's obvious that we cannot go forward with Haskins and Rudolph. That's obvious.
Yes.
It's also obvious that we cannot go forward with Big Ben.
Correct.
My knock on the organization was we never put anyone in position to take over when Ben left, especially after, we saw no matter how much we tried to make Rudolph fit, that he just wasn't the heir apparent.
Yeah, the Mason Rudolph experience should have ended probably 2 years ago.
Yeah. Right. So, so 2 years ago, we had to get rid of one of them, one of the two. Yep. Mason's salary was easy to eat because at that particular time, I think he was still playing under a rookie salary.
Yeah. But you guys extended him, right?
Right.
Signed him to a new deal.
Right.
Well, the good news is, though, you're in a healthy cap space, and there will be quarterback movement this fall. You guys are one of the teams on a short list rumors around Aaron Rodgers. I've heard Russell Wilson attached to your team. There are guys out there you can go acquire and not miss a beat.
Yeah, there are guys that are interested. And not only that, we do have, for once, we're above number 20 as a draft. We have the number 17 draft pick.
Yep.
And we have a guy who's been in our facility all of his career.
Homegrown. I don't know if he's gonna be there. I don't know if he's gonna be there.
I'm just, if he's there.
Oh, if he's there, it might be a no-brainer.
But this is also, when you look at least the top 10 teams, none of them really need a quarterback. Most of them are already settled for their quarterback. Jacksonville's not going to get another quarterback. You guys aren't going to get another quarterback.
We're not taking a quarterback at 2, and actually Goff played well later. Would you move up to get him though? If you get to around 10, 11, 12, and Pickett's still sitting there, do you start making phone calls?
If he's still there at around 10, I think we start making phone calls.
And you're at 20, right? So
we're at 17.
Are you at 17? Is that it? Oh, that's not a hard move.
Yeah,
we're at 17. That's probably a 3 and a future 2 could probably move you 7 spots. That's not on that. Okay, that should be interesting.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The draft should be very interesting because this is the first time in a decade or more that we've picked above number 25.
Yeah, I'm not used to a 2 not being in front of the draft. That's going to be a different deal.
Yeah, so a lot of good things happening, of course. And then there are some contracts that we're going to have to get out from under in the defense. Is Hayden going to be back?
Yeah. You're lukewarm on him, aren't you? You're not as high because I actually like him. If we weren't rebuilding, I'd love him, but he doesn't fit our model. I don't feel like you like him though.
Well, I don't like him in our particular scheme.
Okay, so it's a scheme thing, not a contract thing.
Right. Okay. It's
you don't like
the contract thing, especially. Because once again, we're paying guys that are rather long in the tooth in that position a lot of money. And to be truthful, I'm kind of like Big Ben, and I've been in this position in sports. I know a lot of people have. If you play sports long enough, to where you know that you're going against a superior, talented team. So when it kind of sounds like a cop out. Let's just go out there and have fun.
Yeah.
But basically, that's it. And if history repeats itself, the last time we went to the Super Bowl, we went as a wild card.
Wild card.
So
That's why I think getting in for you guys is the deal.
right.
You're built to play anywhere because you can
Yeah.
run the football and you can defend. And Mike
Yeah.
Tomlin is going to outcoach pretty much everybody else because that's a short list. Better
Yeah.
coaches than Mike Tomlin, that's a really short list.
Yeah.
Sadly, he's the only black coach in the league right now, by the way. We can talk about that another day. We got to see how the hirings go, but
yeah,
he's not going to get out coached, right? And cold weather doesn't bother them. They play in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
yeah.
Not a big deal.
I mean,
Not a big deal.
Yeah. So it's the main thing for me, is we made the playoffs.
Yeah.
As you know, if anyone that has listened to this, I predicted us to go 8-9.
I know. I was on that podcast. And you said that. And I said, wait, 8-9 doesn't get you in the playoffs. And you said, I know. And I said, Steelers and not in the playoffs doesn't work for you.
Yeah. But, then again, now Steeler fan all the way. But what would have happened had Lamar Jackson been healthy?
I know.
So I'm not talking about the clowns up there on the lake, but
right.
Not that I'm a Ratbird fan either, but it's just it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But it was interesting that last Saturday, Mike and I did our usual, and the winners are.
Winner is, yeah.
And we were both talking about how it was that Las Vegas had established Georgia as the favorite.
Yep.
And it was, I'm like, I'm almost ready to go and grab the deed here and run out, like, really, like, after that waxing at Alabama and Nick Saban just, I mean, and what's his name? Had won the Heisman.
Yeah.
I was jacked. And I'm looking at I'm turning on the game just to say, I want to see how wrong Las Vegas can be. It's kind of like me. It's kind of like me turning on an Adrian Broner fight because the only thing I want to see is Adrian get his ass kicked.
Exactly.
But
you're waiting for that.
Well, thing of it is, he gets his ass kicked, but he's still running to the bank.
Exactly.
The
check's still clear.
Yeah,
Oh, how badly did he get beat?
Yeah. So I'm looking at this game, and I know injuries play a part of the game.
Yeah.
But it was like Alabama had never. I thought this would be bulletin board material.
Yeah.
What did you think going into that national championship game?
Well, I was like you because I'm just at a point where Nick Saban's track record, right? It's hard. If you try and use some logic and reasoning, it's hard. But the one thing I did remember seeing was when the team plays a second time, the team that lost the first game always plays better. They don't always win, but they always play better. And I thought that all year, we all believed Georgia was the best team in college football. After about week 4 or 5, we looked at that defense and we said, there's 6-7 players who are going to play on Sunday on that team. That is a good defense. And defense does win championships. But then that SEC championship game happened and we are like, oh yeah, his name is Nick Saban. That's Nick Saban. That's Alabama. And we all got like, okay. All right. So things are the way we thought they were. As Denny Green would say, they are who we thought they were. And but I kept remembering, but Kirby Smart's no joke. And they're going to play again. And the team that lost the first time always plays better the second time. And so my overwhelming thought, and as I watched those two receivers go down, for me, that was the point. When once Jameson went down, I thought, okay, Jameson Williams is the different. I like Minchie. Jameson Williams was the difference maker on the field. The guy who with two good teams, the one who leans into Alabama was him. When he went down, I said it's a different football game now. And after that, Georgia's defense was the best unit on the field the rest of the way. So I wasn't surprised I saw it. I think it's a different game if those receivers play. I got to be honest with you. I think it's a different game if those receivers, because Bryce Young is a different quarterback with those weapons. But I also believe that Georgia had been the best team all year, except for that one Saturday down in Atlanta. And Georgia's defense had been the best unit in the country all year. So statistically, I thought that could happen. But if there's the one guy who makes you think whatever we saw before, it won't matter, it's Nick Saban. So I think it played out pretty much the way I wouldn't have been surprised if Alabama would have won. I thought it was a football game, right? It was hard. It was at times a tough watch. They were playing, but there were some skilled players on that field. And I'm actually happy for Georgia. I think it's good for college football. I still think the Big Ten is the best conference in the country. Even though both teams in the national championship game are from the SEC, I will say they're top heavy. When you get past those two teams, right? And it might not matter. I don't know that those teams won't be right back next year, which is odd to say, but if I asked you to bet amount of money that mattered to you that one of those two teams won't be in that game next year, I don't know what you'd do it, right? Because that's who they are. So I thought it was a good game. I thought Vegas is Vegas for a reason. But the reason you just referred to them as Vegas is because those guys do this for a living every day. They know what they're doing. But I thought Alabama, without those injuries, with those injuries, we don't know what would have happened. But I still thought it was a good game. I enjoyed it. And I'm actually happy for Georgia. We needed something different. It doesn't mean Alabama won't be right back there next year, though.
Well, I'm happy that Alabama didn't win.
Mm-hmm.
But me and the state of Georgia have a kind of
there's a history. Okay.
When you go back, not just Fort Benning, but
right,
just voting rights, so forth and so on. Black man in Georgia riding at the night.
Yep.
There's various reasons.
It's still Georgia.
It's
still Georgia.
Yeah. So like I said, not that Alabama has a better reputation,
right?
But,
I was gonna say that. So
but
like right now, my son lives in Georgia, and my people are from Alabama. So I got people in both states right now. So I don't know what to say.
Yes, some of my people come from Mississippi. Never left. You can grab them by the hand and bring them back, but Saturday morning I got to go back to Mississippi. But
exactly.
So it's I understand. But I'm kind of looking at things here, because we have 7 Alabama players in the portal. And we've talked about this portal, man. I want to. Well, before I get into that, what are your thoughts about the portal? The way you see how players, use Caleb Williams, for instance, as an example, have used this portal, and the ability of the NIL to almost change the face. I mean, look at what Dion is doing down there at Jackson State. He recorded the number 2 guy, and so what's your thoughts when you look at the state of the Big Ten? And we're talking about like conferences with money here. The Big Ten out here, the West, the Big 12, SEC, of course. But what's your thought on the impact just so far? I mean, this is just the beginning.
And that's it. That's it. You just nailed it. This is the beginning. This is college free agency. That's what it is. There's 3,000 kids in the portal. 3,000 kids in the portal. So what happens now is they listen to uncles and agents and cousins, brothers-in-laws, right? Who are telling them, why would you sit the bench? I mean, there's a Charlie Batch Charlie Batch. He played for the Steelers. But he also played for the Lions and he attended Eastern Michigan University. Charlie Batch put out a tweet, hey, Caleb Williams, there's a company that'll give you $1 million to come play 1 year at Eastern Michigan. You 1 year at Eastern Michigan, $1 million. That's where we are now. And no school to date probably has utilized the portal better than my very own Michigan State Spartans. Kinder Walker III was a portal guy. We got a corner named Kimbrough out of one of the Florida schools. I think he was from out of Miami, a corner. We have used the portal well. I love it, first of all. So your question of to date changed the whole landscape of sports. Combined with NIL, it has changed college football forever. It is, and you're right. It's just the beginning. Both of your statements are perfect. It's just the beginning. Now it's Wild Wild West. And it, Caleb Williams might be easy because my guess is he ends up at USC with Lincoln Riley. But even if he doesn't, because I'm sure he's going to get phone calls. He's going to get the Charlie Batch, we'll give you $1 million offers, and he'll get some company that'll say, hey, we will. There's offensive linemen who don't play that are getting paid because companies are striking up deals with schools saying if you're an offensive lineman at this school, basically salaries. I love it because I have always been a proponent of, I never use the term like slave labor because I've read enough about what slavery was actually like, right? And nothing that anybody deals with in 2022 is remotely comparable to slavery. But it is absolutely not fair. The universities were getting the money, the coaches were getting the money, athletic director. And at the end of the day, I always remember the story of Jalen Rose saying he walked by the bookstore and he looked at his own jersey with his name on it in the window in a store in Ann Arbor, and he couldn't afford to buy it. He couldn't come close to being able to afford to buy it. I think it's great. I think it is America. I think it's way past time. Amateurism, as the NCAA has constructed it for years, has been a racket. That's what it's been. And I'm glad it's torn down. And if somebody is willing to, in a free market society, pay you for your name, your image, or your likeness, you have a right to make it. Whether it's $75 or $75,000, you have a right to it because it is yours. It belongs to you. There is no guy named Jacob Williams that anybody wants to play quarterback for them right now. It is Caleb, and that's the only one. And so he has a right to go make that money. So I'm happy for the players. I think this is the thing that changes and opens up. What Deion is doing is remarkable. What Deion is doing is underrated, remarkable. Deion's at an HBCU. This is ridiculous what Deion's doing. I love it. It can change the game. It's drawing Eddie George to take a job. You're going to see other high-profile guys take those jobs because this level of playing field might be too far because, the conferences are still going to be able to do more because they have more money. They have more boosters. I get it. But this certainly adjusts the playing field. This makes it really fun and really interesting and better for the players, and I'm all for that.
See, on certain apps, I'm known as Kid Chronic.
Yeah.
Okay. Play a little poker here.
Right.
And I'm thinking when I look at Caleb Williams, and like you said, Charlie Batch, Eastern Michigan.
Yeah.
But then I look at the boosters in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oil and gas money,
Exactly.
good old boy network.
Boone Pickens money down there. Yeah.
Right. So I'm thinking, like this is really a bluff. I don't think he's going anywhere. But in the meantime, Oklahoma, if you want me to come back, so and so offered me this much.
Right. Exactly. It could be. Yeah. Oh, actually, Boone Pickens was Oklahoma State, by the way. Let me clarify that mistake. But I think you might be right. This is just some really smart advisor saying to him, We have options. All you're
Yes.
doing is letting them know you have options. Because you're right. He did say, I'm going into the portal, but I'm not for sure leaving. But now
Right.
if some guy down in Georgia comes up with a fat check, Caleb Williams might be the quarterback of Georgia next year. I
Yeah.
know he knows Lincoln Riley, and there's money in Southern California, in addition to other things, as you well know, that could draw someone to Southern California. But I think that's just smart. That's just him having all the leverage, and saying, what you got, right?
And taking what you said a step further, like you say, you've got Lincoln Riley out here at USC.
Yep.
Not much more money than there is in Hollywood.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And who does he have to compete with out here?
Right.
Oregon.
Exactly.
I mean,
But
better
that's
or
that's that Phil Knight money. Don't count them out either.
no. I'm not saying that you can count.
Oh, you're saying who USC has to compete.
But I'm saying USC versus Oregon,
Yeah.
or playing in the SEC where you got
Georgia and Alabama. Right, I got you come out to USC, you're running the Pac-12.
Right. Kirby Smart, he's won. He's this year. So he's and like I said, you got 7 Alabama athletes in the portal. You've never. A guy goes to Alabama. I mean, that's it.
He waits his turn, and when his turn comes up, he does his thing, right?
Yeah. So what do you think about these different changes? We've already talked about the NIL and those things, but there's a lot of money in a lot of places.
Yeah.
And
that's it. You just nailed it in a nutshell. Why should I sit for 2 years and wait my turn in Alabama when I can go somewhere, virtually anywhere, and play right now? And because I'm playing right now, I can get paid right. When I'm playing, my name, image, and likeness immediately increases in value. I'm not going to make as much as a second string guy at Alabama as I might make as a starter at fill in the blank school, including Eastern Michigan. Because apparently you can make $1 million being the starting quarterback at Eastern Michigan. Okay. I don't know how you sit down with your mom and dad and say, yeah, I need you to wait 3 more years or 2 more years, when they're saying, no, you can go get this money now. And we can act like it's altruistic and all these kids play football because they love the game. Well, you know what? I know their dad isn't working at the shop, so their son can play for the love of the game. When people are using the word millions, I'm sorry. NIL changed everything. I didn't think it would happen this fast. I remember us talking about this like less than a year ago. I think I joined the Sports Crib in February last year. So we talked about this very early. When they started talking NIL, you were saying what's the real impact? And I think Bill Carroll and I were both saying it's a 2 or 3 year thing where you're going to see this slow, gradual change. We were wrong. We were wrong.
It's
this is here now, and it's
like
for real.
Like instant coffee. It's like
instant coffee. Pop it in the microwave, stir it up, and drink it. And that's what's happening. And I think that it is that subtle. It is what you're talking about. 7 Alabama players in the portal that's how we know it's real. Because like you said, they're at Alabama. Nick Saban graced you with a scholarship offer, and you're leaving? You are choosing to leave Alabama. That's unheard of. And that's all NIL. Those are kids who are like, I can go start at Mississippi State. I can go start at Mississippi Valley State. I can go start at a lot of
Tennessee State. You mentioned Eddie George at Tennessee State.
Exactly. And you can now go play at an HBCU. Why? Because thanks to Dion, they're on TV. And if they're on TV, people know you. And if people know you, people will pay you. None of this is rocket science. It is. I'm shocked by the quickness and the severity that it's impacting, but I love it. I'm in favor of it, so I'm glad. But it's changed, and I'm sure Nick will recruit, and they'll be fine. But that is shocking. 7 guys who are at Alabama willing to leave.
Yeah. Let's run through the NBA real quick here, because one of my favorite players In fact, I think to this day he's the only basketball player that I've ever written a story about uh, and put up on a sports uh, site. And that's Chauncey Billups.
Yeah.
I wrote about Chauncey when he left Detroit going to Denver and the impact that he would have in Denver. Chauncey said this week that Kyrie is the most skilled player that's ever played, and I put this in brackets, point guard, because everybody that's designated as a point guard is not is not a point guard in the sense that we know the position.
Right.
The NBA has evolved.
Yeah.
It's become almost a positionless
Yeah.
type of team. You have to be able to play every position and guard every position now. I mean, hell, you got what Giannis. How many times has he stepped out tonight? What
Right.
at one time, I think Golden State was down by 40 almost.
Yeah.
you know, but it the skill of the players now is just incredible. The skill and the speed. But what do you think when you look at Kyrie and all of the madness aside,
Yeah.
but him as a player and as a pure point guard? Do you agree with Chauncey?
I do not. I love Chauncey, right? I'm a Detroit Piston, right? Pistons are my team. And after, my birthday sharing Isaiah Lord Thomas III, who I still believe is the greatest player this league's ever seen under 6'5", including Steph. I think Joe Dumars, I had the pleasure of watching his entire career. But Chauncey was the next guy in that line. Chauncey was beloved in Detroit. Chauncey found himself as an NBA player in Detroit, Michigan, and became Mr. Big Shot. And I respect and admire and like Chauncey a lot. And I don't disagree with him tremendously. You pointed it out. I think there's a position that they've never named that they should have. There's a third kind of guard. It's called scoring guard. There's a point guard. There's a shooting guard. Steph's a shooting guard. His dad, Dell, was a shooting guard. Joe Dumars was a shooting guard. And then I think that the NBA has introduced a guy called the scoring guard. I cannot compare Kyrie Irving to Isaiah Thomas. I would not. And if I did, I would say Isaiah's better. Couldn't compare him to John Stockton or even like a Mark Price. Mark Price was a facilitating guard, right? But if you go back to Glenn Anton Rivers, who we still like, Glenn Anton Rivers, big guard, could defend a lot of positions. He could score the basketball. He was this combo guard. So combo guard has been, I think there's so many different kinds of positions. And the way you put it was even better. It's positionless basketball. So I don't agree with the premise that Kyrie is a point guard. Set that aside. He is skilled. He is skilled. His statement isn't wrong, because especially if you won't let me talk about the nonsense. Oh my God, is this young man talented? Right? This man is so talented. It is scary how talented Kyrie Irving is. And like I said, if I'm not talking about the nonsense, I got nothing but good things to say about his game. His game is special. There are a lot of guys who can do all of the things that Kyrie does. They're just not at his size, and he can do a lot. I would not call him a true point guard, but if we don't focus on that and you don't let me talk about the craziness, he is a super skilled, talented player. I would just call him a wing. I mean, I don't know how you classify him today. It's so positionless, like you said, but he doesn't facilitate well enough for me to call him a point guard. He doesn't truly make other players better enough. Irvin Johnson made guys better. Irvin Johnson made guys career. Didn't matter he was 6'9". If you played on a team with him, you were better than when you played on a team without him. That's the number one thing about a point guard to me. When Isaiah Thomas deferred, when they acquired Joe Dumars and they acquired guys like Adrian Dantley, and he said, I don't have to score anymore. Because the original Isaiah Thomas, before the Pistons got good, Isaiah was getting buckets because he could. At 6'1", he could score the basketball. The reason, to me, he's the greatest player under 6'5" ever is because his game matured. He really evolved and said, what I need for this team to win is to let Joe Dumars become a Hall of Famer. I need to facilitate guys like Rodman and Sally to do what they do. I need to facilitate James Edwards and Adrian Dantley and Mark Aguirre and even Bill Lambert. That's why Isaiah, to me, still represents what a point guard is. John Stockton, still. Karl Malone was great. Karl Malone is great. Do we believe Karl Malone would have been Karl Malone if he didn't have John Stockton on the team with him? I don't know. I don't know. I can't say yes or no. I know what I think a point guard is, and it's not Kyrie. But his statement about the most skilled player is fantastic. I don't disagree with it. He's super skilled. Yeah. I wouldn't call him a point guard. That's all.
Well, when it's a serious when I call him Kyrie instead of World
right.
Flat.
Right. And I made no reference to that.
It did I didn't touch
any of that. Like I stayed away from it.
Yes. Despite the recent skid, do you still think? And I'm looking at this blowout tonight. 114. Well, they have cut it down some. It's 21 now. But Curry's been on a recent skid, and Clay is just getting back. He's on a 20-minute restriction, I believe.
Yep.
But do you still think that right now the Warriors are probably the best team in the West?
I'm gonna say the unpopular answer and say no. Are they the most exciting on a given night? Can they beat anybody? Absolutely. But when you get to the NBA playoffs, the thing is you got to beat somebody 4 out of 7 times. So you have to literally be better than them. I still like the makeup of the Phoenix Suns. I really do. I think if somehow the incredibly old Lakers could stay healthy, I like the talent they put. I don't think they will stay healthy. We joked about the oldness of that team, and we could talk more about them later. So your question was, are they the best team in the West? If you add right now at the end of that sentence, I'll say yeah. Right. I think that I got to see how Clay comes back in, and they have talent, right? I like Chris Paul a ton. I like the makeup of the Suns. I like the experience the Suns just got. Yeah, that's a good question. I think the answer is probably yes, as much as I just don't want to admit it. The answer is probably yes, because of my personal love for Chris Paul and my love of the makeup of Phoenix. I like Phoenix has all the pieces, and I would like to see that series. I need to see Golden State hold on. I need to see how they're playing in March. The answer right now is yes.
Oh man, it's really, I want to embrace Memphis and John Moran. That
right. Not yet. Uh-oh, you froze on me, buddy. I don't know if we're still live. I'm going to talk about Memphis until you come back. I think that Ja Morant's exciting, and I think regular season NBA basketball is interesting in that you don't play the same teams every night. You have time to scout. You have time to prepare. You know who's coming up. So you have advanced scouts and you can do those sorts of things. When you got the same team, there you go.
Does LeBron have to take the responsibility for bringing Russ to the Lakers? I mean,
I don't know if that's fair. I don't know if it's fair. I think
wait a minute. Now, we also had this conversation on the Sports Crib.
Yeah.
Because there was a choice here.
Yeah.
You could take Buddy
Hield,
yep. Or you could take Russ. LeBron opted for Russ. We all said on this show and others that Buddy was a better fit.
Yes. Yeah, so when you frame it like that, it's an absolute yes. I think that my only caveat would be some of this is on Russ, right? Some of this is on Russ. Because we also said when it happened, you're right. We all agreed Buddy Hield was a smarter play, was a better option. And by all accounts, LeBron had some say-so in the decision. But I think I hope LeBron had a conversation with Russ. And I hope I think it's up to Russ. And I
Don't
don't
you
think it's
think?
too late.
Well, hold on. Don't you think that Kevin Durant and James Harden had conversations with Russ when they was in OKC? Don't
I
you
guess
think
talking to Russ.
that?
All right, that's a good point. You wore me down. Okay, you're right. You're right. You're right. I got nothing else. Because I think he had another option in Buddy Hield that made more sense for the team, and we all saw it. And
didn't cost as much.
Didn't cost nearly as much. It was a much better option. And I think we all agree when almost everybody says, wait a minute, that feels like the better decision. There, you have to own that risk. All right, I'm going with you on that one. We can put this at the feet of LeBron because I think he was instrumental in that choice.
Now, let's go to the second part of that. Russ is still doing what he did everywhere else.
He's doing Russ stuff.
Right.
Right.
Now, in some cases, though, he's hitting that quadruple double because he's getting at double digits in turnovers. Yeah. So Russ is being Russ.
Right.
But at some point, like you said, there's another guy, even though and he's often been injured. But he wasn't playing up to par before.
Right.
And I'm talking about AD.
Yep.
Don't you? I mean, do you have the conversation with Russ and take AD to the woodshed?
AD's like 60 and 260. Ain't nobody taking him to the. I think that you know what AD is. If you are someone who this year expected more leadership, more outward aggressiveness, maybe you haven't been watching. And if you don't realize that he's 6'11" and his body type, those guys get injured. Those guys always get injured, whether it's a foot or an ankle. Look at the history of big men in the league. Foot and ankle injuries, that's what happens. I don't think anybody expected it to be as frequent and as severe as it is with him. I don't know that you let Russ take anybody out to the woodshed because somebody ain't coming back. Right. I don't know. I don't know what they do. Actually, the thing might be is to look and see if you can move Russ. Just say, okay, it didn't work. We have until February 2nd. Anybody want this? And you're probably going to take 75 cents on the dollar, but you might actually get better. Call, see if you get money.
Do you know what Russ is against the salary cap?
Oh, yeah, I know. It's probably not possible. Yeah, it's probably not possible financially. It's probably not. Somebody can make it happen, though. Those are just numbers. They can make that work.
But not contenders.
No. But it could be a bad team that's interested in getting a superstar. Like, my team isn't the right team. If it was 3 years ago, my team would be the team because we don't have a mechanism to get somebody with the talent of Russell Westbrook. And we would trade you a couple of our pieces that would make your team better and it would give us a superstar. We're not going to do it because of the money and it doesn't fit where we are. But there's somebody out there who thinks Russ would sell tickets. Russ would bring us fans or something like that. And then you got to, because we said this, it probably was you. With Russell Westbrook, you're not going to get the best version of him unless you just let him be him. If you try and put that dude in a box in some parameters, you're not going to get the best version of him. And that's what they tried to do. And it has failed. Are they willing to accept already in mid-January that this ain't working? So you can I don't even know if contractually you can move him. Well, I think you can. Yeah. At the trade deadline, I think it was a date in December that new guys who sign with teams can't be traded to after.
Yeah,
but it was in December.
You can move him just like you can move Ben Simmons, but will it happen? Well,
will you do that? Would you do that? Either team, would you do that?
Would I do that?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. No. Neither team, right?
Neither team, no.
Okay. No. I think I agree with you. I think if I'm the Lakers, if the money works and I'm the Lakers, I might do it. Except Ben can't shoot the basketball.
Right.
Ben can't shoot the basketball.
Yeah. So,
but you don't need scoring. You don't need him to shoot. You still got Carmelo, and nobody likes to shoot like Carmelo. If it's going to get Carmelo more shots, that's fine. If
But
I'm the
Mel,
Lakers, I would do it.
but Melo's in a slump now. Melo
Yeah,
and Melo is what 30, what
yeah.
30
Melo's always been
something.
tricky. You
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
expect steady play from Melo, but there's
yeah.
a game in the playoffs. Melo's going to win single handedly because he's going to get hot and he's just going to light it up.
You
You know what? I'm changing it. I'd do that if I was either team.
look.
If I'm the Sixers, I can't let this dude just. You're paying this dude money to sit at home watch Netflix. What are you doing? Move that guy.
I don't know whether they're paying him or not. I mean,
Oh yeah, you know what?
but I mean,
You'd be right.
because of the contract and different things.
I
So
think he's getting paid. I think
I think he's getting paid something,
something.
but he's not getting paid. That game time money.
I
But
think he's getting paid and fined at the same time.
right,
That's what it
right,
is. But
yeah.
I think if you ultimately settle it, they'll waive the fine or something. I don't know. That's an interesting thought. But to your original question, I think Russ was a mistake. I think it is LeBron's fault, and I think they got to do something about it.
And even if you mentioned Simmons, it's you still have to have some kind of constant besides LeBron. You have to have an AD's presence,
Right.
So I think Simmons without an AD would make sense.
Oh, it wouldn't matter, right?
Yeah,
He would be there to facilitate and take the ball out of LeBron's hands sometimes, which can save him both in minutes and wear, and facilitate Anthony Davis. But if Anthony Davis is not there, like you said, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and that's pretty. I mean, if you would just need to facilitate, you could have kept Rondo for much less money than getting Ben Simmons. So,
and he's better.
Yeah,
I mean, facilitating.
Yeah.
I agree.
But we've talked about some other guys. We saw Serge Ibaka tonight, even though the Warriors are taking a beating. Serge is starting. I think he's 37, 38 years old. So, and we also have this resurgence of DeMar DeRozen with the Bulls.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever think? I mean, I know you had the ball there that's doing his thing, but DeRozan, really?
Yeah, I like DeRozan. I think I would quote the great philosopher James Todd Smith to you youngins. You might call him LL Cool J. Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. I think DeMar went up to Canada and we forgot. I think we forgot how good DeMar DeRozan is. Not just a good player who can do a lot of things. If you start strictly getting your own shot and scoring the basketball, DeMar DeRozan, I watched him put it to my Pistons a couple of nights ago. But more than that, he is good in the locker room. That guy's a glue guy and a superstar at the same time. And he has been. He was in San Antonio, but in San Antonio, it was about the team. It's about Pop. Individuals don't get credit. Then he went up to Canada and we slept on him. We forgot how good DeMar DeRozan was. And I think right now, resurgence is good. I don't think he was gone, but I think we're reminded. He has reminded us how good an overall basketball player he's been. And they did some smart things with the Bulls, and they put together a really nice, young, exciting team. And it might be sustainable because, I mean, I think they're young enough and they got some talented players. And
yes,
the kid out of Illinois is going to be around for a while. I've always liked Levine. Some people criticize the game. I think there's a place for an athletic wing. If you're an athletic wing, as Zach Levine, there's a place on the right team. And I think DeRozan gives them that veteran presence in the locker room, on the floor, and he can get buckets. He's literally the guy who can get his own shot as well as any guy in the league. And I'm happy for him because by all accounts, he's a good dude too. So yeah. I'm happy for DeMar DeRozan.
Well, let's talk about your Pistons now. I had originally wanted to talk about the trade, the addition of boy Manu Bol's son, but it seems like he failed the physical.
Yeah.
So you guys are still looking for that big man presence, but there were a couple of things that you can talk about, because also if you looked at the NBA.com site, uh, all of this month, they had 73 stories, what they call 73 stories about 73 players. And
Gotcha.
one of those players happened to be Mr. Dave Bing. Uh, you can comment on all or both.
Sure.
Uh,
Yeah. So the Bol Bol thing is
oh,
interesting.
and by the way,
Yeah.
I will say thank you, because I picked up in my fantasy league Mr. Bay, and he's been doing pretty well for me.
Yep.
Otherwise, he would have fallen by the wayside. And also, when we get to the NFL, I have to definitely thank you for that receiver that kind of fell into my lap. But go ahead.
Yeah, I think that you'll be happy with Sadiq Bey throughout the year. I think he started a little slow, but I think he's back to where he was last year. And I think that dude is solid. So the Bol Bol thing had me and my brother very excited. We've been trading texts for a couple of days. The excitement of what it looked like this guy at 7'2", 7'3" could do. Rim protection would seem to be the obvious, but it was clear the consistent comments about him was that he wasn't getting the minutes in Denver, so we really weren't sure if he had just scratched the surface of what he was capable of doing in the league. And we
Right.
have minutes. If he would have came here and it would have worked out, he would have been able to get on the floor. We would have been able to see what he was. It wouldn't have costed us much. And if it didn't work out, we'd have been in. So it sounded good on paper. My guess is there's something seriously wrong for them to void a trade because of a physical. That just doesn't happen that often, right? So there's got to be something seriously wrong. My guess it's leg related, because as I said, he's 7'2", and that's generally what happens. So that's unfortunate. We were excited, but I have a lot of trust in Troy Weaver, the Pistons GM. Just a smart guy, a shrewd GM. So I think there's a legitimate reason behind it. As for Dave Bing, I think what you have to know is that in the city of Detroit, Dave Bing is more than just a former Piston. He's more than just a basketball player. You have to think about Dave Bing holistically, because he played 9 seasons for the Pistons, and I think he played in Boston. He played for the then Washington Bullets for a couple of years and maybe finished up in Boston. But he averaged 20 points a game. He was not a bum. Don't get me wrong. Dave Bing was a really good player, and he was a more true point guard. He was on the 50th anniversary team. He was on the all rookie team in 67, I'm going to say 68. No, 67. And I think that he made all NBA first team a couple times and went to 6, 7 all-star games. Dave Bing was a really, really good player. And I think he led the league in scoring his second year. So that must have been 67, 68. So yeah, led the league in scoring one year, 28 points a game, 27 points a game. Dave Bing was a really good basketball player. Now, that being said, I'm literally going to ask you to set all that aside, because Dave Bing is a much better man. He's a much better Detroiter than everything he did on the basketball court. Dave Bing used to be the mayor of Detroit. People don't realize it. He was the mayor of Detroit for a while. He is a civic leader and an incredibly successful businessman. Bing Steel is a phenomenal organization that he has run. And sometimes it's when it's your guy, you think, oh, I'm kind of biased because he's our guy. That's not the case with Dave Bing. Everybody knows who Dave Bing is. And sometimes when you don't know for sure and you wonder, like with the Lions, I'm always thinking, I wonder what people outside of Detroit think of the Lions. And Oscar Robertson is as respected and a former NBA player as there ever was. And he referred to Dave Bing as the perfect example of professionalism, class, and dignity. He said he cares and he gets involved with the world. That's what Oscar Robertson said about Dave Bing. If you don't know a lot about Dave Bing, there you go. My city, the city of Detroit, benefited greatly from these qualities in Dave Bing when he was a mayor, as a businessman, as a community leader, as a human being, and certainly as a basketball player. But if I talk about Dave Bing, I will tell you Dave Bing, the basketball player, is not my favorite version of Dave Bing. It's not the version of Dave Bing that I have the most respect and admiration for. Dave Bing is just a quality human being. And he played for my team, and he lived in my city, represented my city, was the mayor of my city. Yeah, I have an unnatural love for Isaiah Thomas. I've always said that, but close behind him not just Pistons, but athletes from Detroit who played in Detroit. Dave Bing's on the short list. He's on the Mount Rushmore of great Detroit athletes, right? He's on the Mount Rushmore of greatest Detroit athletes, greatest human beings who played sports in the city of Detroit. Let me put it that way, because that's a better way to put it. There might have been better players. There probably was better players. I'm not sure there was a better human being that put on a uniform that had Detroit on the front of it than Dave Bing. So he deserves it. He deserves every bit of it, and I'm thrilled.
Well, you gave us a lot of insights that definitely weren't in the article, and it's always good to hear, someone that actually has been around or had personal contact, or at least knows some of the off the court or off the field things about great human beings. Because hey, I did not remember about Dave Bing being the mayor of Detroit until you mentioned it. It's just one of those things that just kind of went by the wayside. Dave Bing, Detroit Piston, boom. Yeah.
And a really humble and classy guy too, by the way, which is Dave Bing probably wouldn't want all this fuss. He probably doesn't even want all this fuss. That's how he is, which is what makes him great.
Yeah. It's usually the ones that don't seek the spotlight that usually do the most shining. As usual, Curry, Durant leading the NBA All-Star scoring. LeBron certainly is now catching up. But your thoughts just in general?
Yeah, I think that's a popularity contest, as well as should be. That's what it's supposed to be. And it doesn't surprise me. That league has always been really good at promoting its stars. It's always been great at connecting with its fan base. They understand what they're doing relative to selling their product. They get it. And that's what you want. And Steph Curry is your quintessential 2022 superstar. Babyface looking 5'8" sniper, right? He is what kids all around the country are doing, stepping back, shooting from half court now. He has changed the game, right? And it doesn't. And Kevin Durant just is a freak. I mean that in a positive way. He is the most uniquely built, talented player. There's very little he can't do on the offensive end of the basketball court. And for a guy his size and his build, right? I just distinctly remember at the combine he could not lift 225 pounds. He couldn't do a single rep, right? And they wrote articles about him not being able to do a single rep at 225. And he has spent, 14 years saying, take your bench press and shove it, right? He is as skilled a player as we've ever seen in that league. So it doesn't surprise me that these two guys lead all-star balloting. These two guys fit. They represent what the league wants to be in 2020. I'm old school bad boy Pistons. This ain't for me. Right? But I get it. And this in 2022, it does not surprise me that these two guys lead the voting. And look at Mike showing up just in time for the NFL. The guy's timing is amazing. He rolls in just in time. The last basketball question. Here comes Mike. Hey, how you doing, my man? Good to see you.
I'm doing very good. How about yourself, Demetrius?
I'm good. I told Mr. King I thought about wearing a Michigan State shirt, but I decided I would not. You guys ran from us on Saturday in basketball. Canceled the basketball game. No, I'm kidding. It's good to see you. I need to hear more about the Colts anyway, so I'm ready to get to this.
Oh man, I don't know if I'm ready to talk about the Colts.
Mr. King did you a favor and put the word collapse right there.
Yes.
Well, there's some background to that. When we get to that question, I'll fill you in. Once again, it was a Saturday program.
Oh yeah, the winner is right.
Yeah. So, so let's get down to business here and talk a little NFL and the Dolphins. They fired Brian Flores. Really?
I agree with Mike. I agree with Mike's hat. Mike's hat is moving in this direction.
Yeah, I have nothing to say about that at all. I have no. if they fired Andy Reid, I'd be less shocked than them firing Brian Flores. I mean, there's some sarcasm in there, but there is also some truth with that as well. It's just, there's got to be more to the story than them just saying, "Okay, we're firing you."
Sometimes you hear something and you know in your heart, wait a minute, I don't have all the information I need to process this information, right?
Yeah,
now, I've heard things about Tua and different things.
Let's try to get some back. Now, I don't know how true the story is. None of us do because, well, I don't think we had those type of sources. But according to some of the people that are on some of the news networks, there was two issues. The first was that Flores wanted to draft Herbert instead of Tua, which led to a difference of opinion between him and the front office that was never healed.
Even though he's been proven right.
Right. Exactly.
That doesn't make sense.
And the same owner has come out since firing Flores and said that the head coach will name the quarterback. So
that dude went to Mike's school, so I'll let Mike explain what the hell's going on in the mind of Stephen Ross. But so he got fired for being right, is what I just heard you say.
Yeah, pretty much. and that even doubles down on why it doesn't make any sense either.
It doesn't. And if you start picking in this league when you have a good coach, and I don't know if I'm an expert, but I believe he had 3 winning seasons in 4 years, and they have a ton of draft capital and are only going to get better.
Yep.
And you're firing him because of a issue with one player. No, you either look that kid in the eye and say, grow up. That's your head coach. You got to grow up because he's the coach. Because you might have just messed this up. You might have just took the wheels off a train or a really nice car that was moving in the right direction. And it was only going to get better. And you might have just took the wheels off over. I don't know what. I don't know. Because if he wanted to pick Herbert, all he proved to me was that he's smart and he understands what he's doing. And you probably should listen to him more. I would have maybe given him more power. I mean, I would have taken a different approach. I think you just lost one of the good young coaches in the league, and it's going to come back to haunt you, unless you're going to get Belichick to come down or something. I don't know.
And that's the kind of thing that's going to have to happen is someone that to make you forget what you did. Because if you fire Brian Flores, who's all he's been is good.
Yep.
And I mean, what were the Miami Dolphins before Flores even stepped in? They were just trash. And I don't know if they had a over 500 season this year. I know it was close. Yeah. And I know they were over 500 last year, and they were trash the year before. And then make these spectacular trades to set them up even in a higher position. And you say, no, thank you. We don't want you. What the?
You're set up to get much better really quickly. And do you take that job? If you're another coach, because I don't know now, if you're some thirsty guy who wants a job, I guess you take it. And it's not a bad job. I'm not a Tua guy, so I don't think he's the answer, but that's just me. But if you look at how they treated Flores, I don't know. If I'm a reputable guy who has other options, I don't know that I take that job.
Yeah, and then you're already putting yourself in a bad position already because not only do you have these draft picks coming for you, then if you don't do as good a job as Brian Flores, then you're in even more on the hot seat because it's like, well, the guy that they fired did a heck of a lot better job than you did. So, I mean, not only did we give you draft picks, set you up for the future, and you can't come through. Yeah, that's a short leash.
Yeah, and the worst part is he took those bullets. He made those trades and took some bad years believing there was a light at the end of the tunnel, that he was going to get a chance, right, to build that out. And I don't like the way it went down. I don't think it was a smart move. And I think these are the kinds of things that stay in organizations, like have lasting impacts on organizations.
Yes. And if they continue to hire bad people or they continue to just hire and fire at will, then you're starting to build a reputation as an organization where it's going to take a lot. You're going to have to probably find someone, because coaches that are head coaches are not going to want to go there. They'll have to hire some quarterback coach or something to that effect.
And that's a tight-knit group. The coaching fraternity, that's a tight-knit group. Those guys hear about stuff and they hold grudges, and they know what you're doing. But he went 10-6 last year and 9-8 this year, and has capital. Yep. I mean, he went 5-11 his first year with a garbage roster.
Right.
But they have capital. They have the ability to get better. And you make this decision for what, by all accounts, seems like a really bad reason. It's a Flores doesn't look bad coming out of it, no matter what. Because people in the know understand what's going down here. So, and it's a bad look for the Dolphins. Flores will bounce back. He's gonna be a coach again this year. One of the top names in the cycle because he's really good.
Right. I mean, if I'm GM and I'm looking for the coach, that's the first number I'm dialing. I mean, I'm not even hesitating.
Everybody's going to talk to him. I think the Bears are going to talk to him. I think the Giants are going to talk to him. If I'm Jacksonville, I'm just up there with a blank check.
You just tell me what you want. I'll give it to you. Yeah.
It ain't that far a drive, bro.
Right. Exactly. We'll move all your stuff. We'll take it.
We got a moving company.
Speaking of a moving company, a guy that was fired after I wrote about this was the head coach of the Texans. After one season, I mean, what have you really seen? That's number one. Number two, you have a coach that still has to come in and deal with that Deshaun Watson mess. And your team is not that good.
I think David Culley knew what this was, though. I think this is not surprising, and I don't think it's even surprising to David Culley. I think at the time, and as I recall, it happened at an odd time, and I think they might have even sat him down and said, "You're filling a spot right now, right?" And if he's like, "Okay, I'm getting a head coach paycheck. I'm getting an opportunity to show what I can do. I'm getting it's an NFL coaching job. There's only 32 of them, and they pay pretty well, even the lower ranked ones." I don't think this was an okie doke. I think he probably knew. And my hope is that they were really honest with him from day one, so that this is not surprising to anybody that they were kind of in a difficult situation. And I think that Deshaun Watson thing will get clarified in the offseason. So they'll move on from him some way, somehow. But I think that that is a New England tree front office. Don't be shocked if Brian Flores ends up down there. Don't be surprised if Josh McDaniels ends up down there. Something like that. I think that I want to believe that they're good people in the world, and they didn't okie doke this guy. I'm not surprised, and I just hope that they were honest with him. He knew all along this is kind of what they were trying to do, and now they can do this the right way. If he comes out and says, "No, they told me this was real," then that just sucks. It's not as bad as Miami, but it sucks. But I believe he probably knew. I believe they might have been honest with him, and this didn't surprise me. I was surprised they took a couple days to do it. I thought this would be one of the first ones we heard.
He's like 68, 70 years old.
Exactly.
I think that's my feeling as well. But the way Houston's organization is run,
you never know. But I would be a placeholder if they told me, "Look, we went to they did your best." I'll be a placeholder for somebody.
Yeah, it would be no doubt about it.
It ain't the worst thing in the world that you have to do for a year. And he can go right now and be a DC somewhere or be a coordinator for sure. I mean, he's been cashing good checks for the last year, so I don't feel as bad. Brian Flores got screwed over. That's a 40-year-old.
100%.
But he'll be fine. He's 40, and he will have his choice of jobs. So, but I think Culley was probably more predictable.
Yeah, it didn't surprise me one bit. I kind of figured when I found out how old he was when they hired him, that it was probably a 1-year situation and then it would be done. But just hopefully they did it the correct way.
Demetrius, this is another subject that Mike and I discussed Saturday.
Yeah.
Is Pete Carroll, will Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson be back with the Seahawks next year?
No, not in my opinion. Two things. I'm gonna get myself in trouble right here. Wait, are we after dark? Okay, we're after dark. We're all married or have been married. Is that fair? No?
Yes.
Yes.
So, here's the thing. We can all believe that we are in charge, that we run things. Right? And we do. We tell ourselves, I'm the man. Right? Decisions in a marriage, in a household, are often not made by the husband. I'm trying to be as good as I can. When your wife goes out and makes it clear and has done things to make it clear that she'd rather live.
Yeah, decisions. I think what you're trying to say is that decisions are not always multilateral.
Exactly. Yeah, you were much nicer about it than me. So once I have read your wife talking about other cities, openly discussing what it would be like to live in New York. Okay. I think they would be. Now, from a football standpoint, not sucking up to my favorite host, the place for Russ is Pittsburgh. That's the place. He might end up being the Giants quarterback. I don't know why he wants to be the Giants quarterback, but he might be.
Pittsburgh or the Giants. Let's see.
Which direction do I want?
I'm sure Russ wants to go from Seattle to Indianapolis. That might be a good spot. No. I think Pittsburgh's the best football fit. The answer to your question is no. And Pete might be done too, because Pete's got to be closing in on 70, if not 70.
At
least Pete's days are numbered just because Father Time's never lost, and at some point, it's going to be too difficult physically and mentally to do the job at a high level and just manage your life. That's nobody's fault. That's not bad. Pete Carroll's great. Obviously, he's got rings. But I think it's clear I think it's clear that Mrs. Wilson no longer wants Russell to play football in Seattle, Washington. That's the clearest way I can put it. So where does he end up? I don't know. I think bigger city opportunities for her, branding and all that kind of stuff are things I'm hearing, but I'm not a social media guy. I'm old. I'm old to me. I don't do all that. But from what I hear, those kinds of things are indicators of. So the Giants, I think, are in play. I would say the best fit is probably Pittsburgh. Because from a football standpoint, that's a great fit. I wouldn't be surprised if it was New York.
It's the same kind of players too. You have tight ends there. You have Pat Freiermuth, and then you have Claypool, who could be the DK Metcalf role, and you have Deontay Johnson is the Lockett role, and he'd fit right in.
Najee, right? Yep. I think it's the best football fit is Pittsburgh. I don't know. I don't know what she wants, and none of that's disparaging because that's just the way that works. So his priority is her, and it should be. So if she wants to be in New York, he might be the quarterback of the Giants.
You could also there's a city that they have to stop over in, maybe if they don't take a nonstop flight to New York, called Las Vegas.
Yeah. That's an appealing option too.
I'm just from her standpoint of view.
But why do we did not like Derek Carr? Why am I the only person that likes Derek Carr?
I like Derek Carr too.
I'm wondering why people are in such a hurry.
Yeah,
Derek Carr. I haven't figured that out yet.
I don't know either. He gets the worst rap, but
I know I'm a Derek Carr guy. By all accounts, he's a good dude in the locker room. Mm-hmm. If I hadn't fallen in love with Jared Goff the last 6 weeks, I would be pushing for Derek Carr to come to Detroit.
Well, we're going to talk about a couple. Well, we're going to talk about your Lions and Mike. You can get ready.
Let Mike go first.
Well, no. Well, before. Come on now, I have to talk about my clowns, man.
Oh, yeah, we got to do the clowns.
First thing first.
Right. It's priorities, man.
Priorities. We have priorities on this show here. Kevin Stefanski says, I fully expect Baker to bounce back next season.
You want to take that one first, Mike?
personally, I think me and Mike talked about this Saturday too.
Okay,
Will
I'll
Baker,
jump in.
will,
I'll jump
will
in.
Baker
So,
even be a clown next year?
right. So here's the
I
thing.
mean, what is this? His 5th-year option, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
He will. But it's
I
what you
agree.
just said. It's 50-year option. They got to pay him. So no, here's the thing, right? Key and Peele used to do a great skit called Obama Translator. There'd be a guy playing Barack Obama, talking like Barack Obama would talk. And then there's a guy standing behind him named Luther. Luther would tell you what Obama really meant, right? Right. So I'm going to be Kevin Stefanski's translator. Translation, we got to pay this dude next year. Nobody will take him off our hands. And after next year, we can move on from him. So, yeah, we got to suck it up for one more year. Smokey, hit the music. Tears of a clown. That's exactly what this is, right? Smokey will sing us out right now because nobody's going to give us 50 cents on the dollar for him. If he has value, it is completely unclear because his body is a mess. I don't, is it shoulder, is it ankle, whatever it is jacked up. He's got to have a procedure. So you can't trade him. And he played like crap. So he has no real value. And he's got if you trade for him, you get him for 1 year, and then you got to decide. He's now your problem. Do you sign him long term? There's nothing appealing for any other team in the league to acquire Baker Mayfield. Kevin Stefanski saying, bro, Mr. King, we don't have a choice. What do you want us to do? Right?
Yeah.
That's what he's saying. Yeah, he's going to play it. Yeah, he's going to be our quarterback because we're paying him and we can't get rid of him. And that's really what it is. That's my translation. And it is very clown-like. Honestly, it is. But they're clowns. That's what they do. They don't really have a choice, though. I'm not giving the organization a bad rap on this because, again, they'd love to trade him. But who's the team that's going to trade for him?
Right.
If there's a coach somewhere who thinks, I really love Baker, and when he gets healthy, I can do something with him, let's get him for the last year of his rookie deal, let him prove himself, and then we'll sign him long term. Yeah, good luck with that. Good luck keeping it. Gettleman retired, so that ain't gonna happen. It's gonna take an ego, and I just don't. I think Stefanski's smart enough to know that we're stuck. We're stuck with him for at least one more year. Now next year, you're gonna get a different answer because they won't be obligated to any money for him. Because if they really believed in him, if he was really the long-term answer, guess what he would not be? He would not be on the final year of his contract because you don't do that for franchise quarterbacks. He would already have signed a deal. Yep, so they're telling you everything they need to tell you by the fact that they have not offered him a long-term deal. And he knows that too. And his play and his injury history, he can't say anything. So everybody's just being nice and saying what they can say. He won't be the quarterback this time next year. Well, roughly this time next year.
Anything you want to add? You want to add there, Mike?
I think it's kind of interesting that Stefanski says he'll bounce back. I mean, what other choice does Baker Mayfield have? I mean, you can't get any worse than what he has right now.
If he shows up, it's a bounce back.
Yeah, I mean, there's only way one direction. That's up. So
if he gets his car into the parking lot, that's a bounce back season.
Yeah. So yeah, I completely agree with Demetrius. It's 1 year. He might either be a bridge quarterback next year somewhere, or he'll be a backup. But in just a couple of years, this guy he's not starting material. His 1 to 3 window is pretty much closed. He's a backup, a solid backup, and that's about it.
Hey, he made Big Ben from the 6th best quarterback in the league to the 3rd. So I appreciate it. Anyway, Mike.
Yep. I'm gonna lean back and get comfortable because I want to hear all of this.
We talked about this last Saturday, and there are many things that I could play back as to how bad a beating that this was going to be. How sure you were that your team was
I was 100% sure. I was laughing about this.
100. I hate I missed it.
You were 100+%.
I had no doubt.
Carson Wentz was going to throw for at least 200 yards.
Yep.
Jonathan Taylor was going to run all over the place.
Yep.
You had that offensive line revved up and ready to go.
This is painful to listen to.
We talked about Carson Wentz. Mike, what the hell happened?
I have no idea. I have no words. I from the very beginning, they started out well. It was I think they even had a sack in the first series, and they had it 3rd and 15. And I'm just laying back in my seat going, this is how it's going to be. They'll get the ball first. It's 3rd and 15. They won't get the first down because, Trevor Lawrence sucks. And this is game over already. We haven't even gotten through 10 minutes left in the first quarter. And then first down, 3rd and 15, first down. And I'm like, what the hell? And then they got to 3rd and 12 and got another first down. And I'm like, this isn't good. And then they got the touchdown, then the field goal, then another touchdown. And Colts are like, just F this. We don't care about this playoffs. We really don't. We haven't wrapped in the bag of. They played like they were the number 1 seed, that they already guaranteed the number 1 seed. And
win and you're in.
Yeah, but not to them. They didn't think that. They thought they already had it. They already thought it was won. I don't know.
You don't really want to believe that that's true, right? That your team could. Fluky stuff happens. It's been 4 days though, so you had time to process it. Do you really think it was about effort and caring, and they just didn't want it enough?
The way they played, I mean, I don't like saying that, especially about professional athletes.
No, I struggle with that.
They get there because that's all they do. That's their hunger. That's 100%. That's what they dedicate their life to, and whatever is left goes to their families, right? Well, some of them, anyways. But it's that's why they're professionals, because they don't understand the lit up. That's why I always laugh when people say, "Oh, they're going to suck to get this first round pick, or they're going to tank." They don't tank. They don't know how to tank.
Tanking is impossible.
Yeah, exactly. So
organizations can tank. Individual players cannot. They're not wired like that.
Exactly. And so, so I'm struggling with that because this team did not look like they had the same fire, the same the same determination that they did against the Patriots and the Cardinals, the 2 teams they played before the Raiders. Yeah. And they knit and grit against those 2 teams. Then it comes to the Raiders 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, I don't recognize this team. This team doesn't look like the team that I've been seeing for the last few weeks. But everybody has a letdown game. You play 2 tough teams, in a row, you're going to have a letdown week. It's possible, right? We've seen teams all the time just take a dip.
And that's my point. It was just that game that every team has. For them, it happened to be that game. It happened to be the game where you just don't want that to happen.
Right. But then they play the Jacksonville Jaguars the following week. Right, last week. So week 17 they played the Raiders and they did not look good.
Right,
no, whatever. Week 18 they play Jacksonville Jaguars and they looked even worse than they did.
No excuse for that one though.
No excuse whatsoever.
That's the one where you're playing by every measure the worst team in the league.
Exactly,
and you're playing the worst team in the league, and like we mentioned. All you have to do is win.
Your playoff life is at stake.
Yeah, all you have to do is win. You couldn't ask for a more tailor-made opponent for you to get into the playoffs.
I mean, this is Mike Tyson and Buster Douglas all over again.
Exactly. That's a great analogy. That's a great analogy. Wow. That's got to be tough, though. As a fan, it had to be tough for you. Because you don't understand, right? It's not like they were playing the Packers and they got rolled at Lambeau, because you can process that.
Right.
I always tell people, it never bothers me when the Lions get beat. If the other team's better and that team plays to a certain level, we just get beat. I hate it when they lose. I hate when my team loses. It never bothers me when my team gets beat. And there's a distinct difference in those two.
Yes, exactly. Like if they went out 100% and fought tooth and nail, and Jacksonville Jaguars just had the breaks go their way, and just had I can deal with that.
Yeah,
I can't deal with Mike Tyson going up against Buster Douglas and not giving it to him.
Like Carson Wentz on the ground trying to pick up his mouthpiece.
Yeah. Like sideways and everything.
That's what that is. Reaching around for his mouthpiece.
Will Wentz be back? You think, Mike?
I think he will be. I think they give him one more shot. Two reasons. One, Frank Reich really likes Carson Wentz, and Carson Wentz did well up until the last couple of weeks of the season. So maybe they can work on something. And then plus, who else is out there really? I mean,
what the hell was Chris Ballard talking about today then? The GM made some statement that made me feel like he didn't. Like he might go another direction, and I think Chris Ballard is respected around the league as a bright, like football mind. He did not endorse Carson Wentz.
No.
Far from an endorsement. I don't know that he said, and maybe I just got okey doke by ESPN. ESPN made a big deal. Like he basically said Carson Wentz could kick.
This is gone.
Yeah. When they asked him, he basically said, what was it like? I don't know if any, who's going to be here or who's not.
What else are we going to do? It's like, whoa. That's a marriage. That's divorce time right there.
Right.
Give me a better option. It was a very lukewarm, but I think you're right about the first point. I think Frank Reich and Carson Wentz have a relationship. And I think that in itself might be enough. That might be enough.
I think it will be. I think, and then we'll see after that. But they don't have a first round this year because that went to the Eagles for Carson Wentz. We'll see what happens.
I think the good news is there's depth at receiver, so you can get a playmaking receiver in the second round.
Yes.
I thought you had a superstar in Michael Pittman. You can tell me if I'm wrong.
No.
But I think you have the best running back in the league.
Yes.
And I am a Carson Wentz guy. I think you can win with Carson Wentz. Now, it doesn't make him the best guy in the league. You don't need the best guy in the league, especially when you got the best running back in the league. My biggest problem the other day was how not how the players played, like how they approached the game.
Yeah.
Why do you not just punch Jacksonville in the face nonstop?
There you
and
go.
So I think sometimes they fall in love with all the other stuff. It's like, I got the best dude in the league right here. I am not against old school Earl Campbell. You think you can run 45 times a day, son? I can run 46 times a day.
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor, how many carries you got in you? As many carries as it takes.
Exactly.
So I predicted them to win the division back at the beginning of the year. I really was on the Colts bandwagon. A little disappointing, but I don't think they need to do anything drastic. I think they're a team that needs to tweak, not restructure or reload or anything. I think tweak. Yeah. So I think it'll be fine.
They got a lot of young talent, especially on the defense.
You can always trade Baker for Carson. I mean,
there you go. Why not? Let's just throw chaos in there and just
trade Darius Leonard to Detroit. You could do all kinds of stuff.
It is kind of when you look at it and then you look at the season. I mean, because most people had we had penciled the Colts into the playoffs.
I did. I had them winning the
preseason. Yeah. So and to see that collapse. But Demetrius, I will take exception because I think that they had the second best running back in the league. They had the first. This year, he was the best running back in the league because the best running back was hurt. But we'll discuss that on a different show.
I'm not trying to dismiss Derrick Henry. I assume that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't. I don't. No, but let me ask you this question: you get to start a team tomorrow, and you get your pick of any running back in the league tomorrow, not 5 years ago. Tomorrow.
I'm taking Derrick Henry.
Okay. All right.
I mean, before Derrick Henry got hurt, how many more yards did he have than Jonathan Taylor?
Not disagreeing with you. You're absolutely right. Jonathan Taylor helped me, Mike. Minimum 5 years younger than Derrick Henry.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Jonathan Taylor. That is not.
I
don't even think it's disrespectful to Derrick Henry to say that.
Right. I think
in the context of.
But you're saying win right now, not win in the future.
That's fair.
So I'm thinking
Derrick Henry might be the best running back in the league right now. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. And him getting hurt. I watched that one game and thought, what the hell? Jonathan Taylor is some kind of freak of nature who I totally underestimated. And when someone can completely dominate a game, I mean, one player can completely and Derrick Henry can do that too. Derrick Henry has done that.
I mean,
so I can't really argue with you on that.
Yeah, when you look at the Tennessee Titans,
right, you're right.
It's Derrick Henry or bust.
You're right.
True.
And if I'm the Colts, that's what I would have modeled. That's exactly what I would have done with Jonathan Taylor.
Right,
I think that's a great point you make. So I'll give you that one because I got nothing but good stuff to say about Derrick Henry. I have fallen in love with Jonathan Taylor though.
Oh yeah, and I would love a season where they're both healthy just to see,
be nice.
That would,
that'd be a good race.
I'm looking
at finishing.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to 2022.
Yeah.
Speaking of coaches, the Raiders, and God, they gave. Oh my God! I mean,
how much did you enjoy that game?
Oh,
how are you feeling with about 39 seconds left in overtime until Brandon Staley brain fart?
Until Staley called timeout, my heart was in my throat.
Exactly.
I just knew that the Raiders were going to play this game for a tie because it didn't mean anything. They both get in.
Yep. And they were, James. You're absolutely right.
There was no way. There was no way in my. I was so upset. I actually turned away from the TV for about 30 seconds. Okay, and when I got back, I found out that the Chargers had taken a timeout, and now I'm jumping up and down in my seat. I'm like, this is the best thing that could have ever happened. Yeah. But the whole time I just knew that we were going to miss the playoffs because of this freak tie. So I was, and for us, we had already played to a tie in Detroit. I mean, that was our saving grace, that tie. If that had been a loss, we would not have made it.
Why would you bring that up?
So, as I said, I have some good things to say about you, but I got some bad things too. But what do you guys think about Coach Basarka? Should the Raiders keep him or not?
I think that what happens now is you talk to the players, like in the locker room, right? That's probably I feel like the Raiders have become this team that feels a need to make a splash. I feel like they quietly, to me, if you assess this and your players seem to respond well to this guy and you're comfortable with what he can do, you either decided he was David Culley when you hired him or he's not, right? If he's David Culley, none of what we say right now matters. They're going to big splash. Now, if I'm any team in the league with a vacancy, my first call is going to Brian Flores. Personally, if you get Brian Flores, thank you, Rich Bisaccia. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
See you later.
Thanks, bro. Here's a check. Here's a couple of sweatshirts and tickets to this will lay down the street. But I got Brian Flores. It might be some of that. I think they make a splash. No disrespect to him. I think, again, he got the job in the midst of chaos. Yes. So maybe they sat him down and said, look, we're probably going to do a full-on search in the offseason, no disrespect. If they had that open, honest conversation with him, no harm, no foul, he cashed a bunch of head coach checks and he can go get a job somewhere or he can stay there. He won't have a problem getting a job. Yeah. To me, the key thing is, like, did they have the honest conversation with him?
I truly believe that from what we've been told and what's been put out in different articles, this is a coach that had that conversation. Yeah. You are interim. Yep. This is a Harbaugh's situation, and until this season is over, you are our coach. But we are going to have this conversation at the end of the year.
Yeah,
but
and I think that's fair. So,
but when you speak about the locker room and the players, and confidence in your starting quarterback. Yep. He has all of that going for it.
It sounds like it. And that's why it's always tough when you give a guy interim tag. There's the risk that he does the job pretty well, right? That the players fall in love with him, and then you got to hire him, right?
Yep.
So that's why that conversation is so important. Because
Mhm.
if they can stand at the podium and say, look, we put the interim tag on him. We always intended to do this. And maybe you give him a full-on interview anyway. You think about it and you say, hey, we're gonna. But if Brian Flores is out there and you can get Brian Flores, you don't got to explain shit to nobody. Right? At the end of the day, great job, bro. Enjoy the Cirque du Soleil show. But we got Brian Flores. So. Did you just randomly say the name Harbaugh in the middle of that just to make Mike worry? I mean, was that for Mike?
I can only take so much. The Colts.
Oh, hey,
slip Harbaugh's name in there.
Yes, I did. Hey, Mike's got some. The Colts weren't his only.
I can only handle so much right here.
I know Mike's having a rough.
So you can address the Raiders first, and then we'll talk about your favorite coach, Mike.
I right now, I think the way he handled the situation, and he's got to be a player coach because he came in with that whole mess of things with the Raiders and turned them around, and they became sort of what they were before Chucky got fired, and he made them back into a team unit. So I think the players absolutely love to play for him, and I 100% agree that if he should at very least get an interview. I think he should get the starting job. He will get the starting job. Starting job. What am I talking about? We'll get the head coaching job if they do beat the Bengals. I think that's cemented. And then of course, I also agree with Demetrius. If Brian Flores says, "Hey, Mark Davis, can I be your head coach?" It won't matter. It won't matter one bit because Brian Flores would be the head coach. But without that standing, I think Bisaccia is their next head coach, officially head coach.
Newsflash: if he has to depend on them beating Cincinnati in order for him to keep his job, he might want to find out where the unemployment office is now. But anyway, Mike,
you think it's going to be that much of a wreck with Cincinnati?
I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout, but I do think Cincinnati has the better team. If I had to start Joe Burrow or Derek Carr, then I'm starting Joe Burrow. And I mean, I have no love for the Bungles at all, but Jamar Chase,
Tyler Boyd,
the young kid that they have starting at tight end, he's going to be a star in the future. He might not be now. What's his name? I can't pronounce it. Yeah. So I mean, it just personnel wise, Higgins. I mean, it's so you can kind of go down the line. Offensive line.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go on down the line. Josh Waller, Joe Mixon.
You still got to play the game, though.
Still got to play the game.
You still got to play.
I agree with you 100%. I got to go out there. Ask the Colts.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. You sound like me when I was talking about the Colts on Saturday.
I do sound like you better. At least know where to pick up the forms. You might not have to use them. You might not have to use them, but at least know where to pick up the forms.
Right. Get the address. Get the address in your ways.
So let's talk about Mr. Harbaugh here because of course everybody's talking about is he going to make his return to the NFL, and there have been a lot of teams that have been mentioned, but one of the ones that I find the most intriguing because it's really not that far of a move, and it really fits his style of coaching. And yes. I'm talking about the Chicago Bears.
Yes.
Are the Bears actually a better fit for Harbaugh when you talk about him coming to the NFL? Or do you think he's going to stay in Michigan after that shellacking his ass took in Georgia? Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry.
Oh, so many weeks in a row. Just bad
It was a rough
for my
night for
teams.
Mike, man. I might have to give Mike my final thought minutes.
Oh my god. Oh, it's just been bad. Okay, honestly, I think he stays with Michigan, but if we're talking about him moving to Chicago, I think that's an excellent fit. He was a quarterback there. The way that Chicago's offense is formulated is perfect for him. He loves to run the ball and do those kind of things. And I mean, Montgomery's there, that power back that he likes. And I think that whole situation is suited for Harbaugh. So if he does go to the pros, I think Chicago would be the one that he would go to.
Okay. Yeah, I just thought that was very intriguing. Like I said, doesn't have to move that far. I mean, I'm sure, the moving company's right there. So now, Demetrius, let's talk about your Lions. After the tie, they seemed like they played some very inspired ball, even though they played some close games, played a couple boners, but got to talk about Swift. Got to talk about the wide receiver Armand. But Demetrius, you're not going to sell me on Goff.
Oh, yes, I am. So here's the thing. First of all, my personal podcast is called Cornbread and Kool-Aid Podcast. I am not objective. I have never professed to be objective. I eat blue cornbread and drink silver Kool-Aid every day. Do not bet money on anything I say about this team. That's not who I am. I don't try and be that. I love my team. But at the beginning of the year, every week on my podcast, as the losses piled up, I said, I don't care about the record. I need to see them get better. And so early on, I said, guys, we're talent deficient. Then we had injuries. And we lost not just okay players. We lost some of our best players. Our Pro Bowl center missed half the season. We lost Flores. We lost Romeo Okwara. Jeff Okudah, we still don't know what he is. He could be a really good corner. We don't know because the kid hasn't been healthy. We lost Decker for 6-7 games. So now not only are you bad, but you're 4th or 5th in the league in man games lost. 240-something man games lost. So this thing is happening, and I'm struggling. And then Thanksgiving night, we're 0-10-1, and I'm talking to my brother. And I said, I think it's not really fair to fire a guy 11 games into his tenure. But my brother, who's not, the optimist, I'm the optimist, said, let's see how it ends. And I went back to my original thought. Let me see him get better. So then what I saw guys like Amani Oruwariye, this corner that we got out of Penn State, play better. I saw a rookie linebacker named Derek Barnes. Remember his name. He's going to get better. I saw Amon-Ra St. Brown doing things and seeing his name on charts with Herman Moore and Calvin Johnson. This guy was drafted in the 4th round.
Yes.
So I'm seeing this stuff, and I'm like, as they go and they beat Arizona, a playoff team, the Lions were the better team on the field all day, beginning to end that game. We played the Green Bay JV team, but that's okay. When Rodgers plays for the Broncos next year, we're going to play that JV team twice. So I'm fine with that. The Bears and Vikings have both fired their staffs, right? Yeah. I'm looking at this saying, wait a minute. I was projecting a 2023 North Division championship. Guys, we got 5 of the top 100 picks. We got cap space because Stafford's numbers come off the books. If we cut Trey Flowers and Vitae after June 1st, that's another $13 million. We are a stock that is not. We are trending upwards, and that is a lot of cornbread and a lot of Kool-Aid. But I absolutely love Brad Holmes. He will be a future executive of the year. I'm calling that now. I love where we are. We were 3-13-1, and I love where we are because in reality, between the tie and the Ravens game and the first Minnesota game, we should have been 7-10. But we get the second pick in the draft because we're actually 3-13-1, and we got 5 of the top 100 picks. We can rebuild this thing quickly. Like, we got a good young nucleus. We have veteran leadership. Hawkinson is still one of the best tight ends in the league. If we add a number 1 receiver, he gets better. Amon-Ra St. Brown gets better. If Quintez Cephas comes back from his injury and continues to improve like he was, you have a good running back room between Swift, Jamal Williams. I love this kid, Craig Reynolds. Jamar Jefferson is still there. They got a really good running back room. They quietly, if everybody stays healthy, probably have a top 10 offensive line because Decker's good. Jonah Jackson played well. Ragnow's still a Pro Bowler, and Penei Sewell is anchored the right side. This team is not as bad as people think. I know I'm biased. I am thrilled with where we are going, where we are heading. And truthfully, look at his last 5 games. Jared Goff can be my quarterback. I'm not going to find anybody better, right? I'm not taking a quarterback at 2 because there's no quarterback who's going to give me value at 2. Somebody else can reach and take Matt Corral or Kenny Pickett or even the kid out of Liberty, whatever you want to do. If we get to 66 and one of these guys is still on the board, whether it's a Carson Strong or Desmond Ridder or Sam Howell, at 66, I might think about it. At 98, our 5th pick in this draft in the 3rd round, I might think about it. Jared Goff can now similar to Carson Wentz. Yeah. We're paying Jared Goff next year. Jared Goff's my quarterback next year. Like, do I take Sam Howell in the 3rd and he can sit a year behind Jared Goff and maybe be my quarterback in 23? Sure, that's smart business. That's great. I can handle that. I'm not taking a quarterback at 2. I'm not taking one with the Rams pick at 28. I'm not taking one at 34 with my first pick in the 2nd round. We got too many holes, and there's too many good players out there that can make us better. But we got cap space to add 2 or 3 really good free agents, and we got 5 of the top 100 picks. This league is ripe for going from last to first. And if Aaron Rodgers moves to Denver and the Bears and Vikings both fall back just because you've made these changes, I like what next year is going to look like for my team. Saying all of that as I am the ultimate optimist. I am not biased. But I think most of what I just gave you guys is reasonable and logical, and there's not a whole lot of cornbread in that. I love where we are. I'm super excited because it's built foundationally. There's some good young players on this football team. We are one of the younger teams in the league, and we can. And next year we'll have the Rams number 1 again. So we'll have 2 1s and 2 3s next year. So we can do it again. I like where we are. I like the division is getting either old or bad, so we get to ascend at the right time. So yeah, but Jared Goff is not the problem. Jared Goff is not going to lose us games.
I kind of have to wonder when you start off and tell us that you're biased,
right?
And then you end saying I'm not biased.
No, I am totally biased.
Oh, okay.
My points I thought were reasonable and logical. I had to tell you I was biased so I didn't just sound like a cornbread eating homer, because the facts I laid out are real. Having 5 of the top 100 picks is not bad, right?
I like where you went when you said, like if you could pick up a prospect later on, and let him sit behind Goff a year or 2. I do that. I understand. But it's kind of like the Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor discussion. Are you going to go with are you going to keep an old guy? Are you going to, I don't want to see another good team with prospects end up like we did in 2 years looking for your starting quarterback.
Here's the deal. Jared Goff's only 28. I think people think he's really old. Jared Goff is 28. We've got
he's long in the tooth, though.
He was in the Super Bowl 4 years ago. I know that. And I think that he has a really manageable cap number the coming year. And then the year after that, we can let him go with no dead money hit.
Yeah.
So if he plays this year and we take somebody in the 3rd and they're ready, it is from a management of the cap standpoint really easy. You don't have to re-sign him to a long-term deal because you were smart and you extended him by a year. They're in a good situation with Goff. He gets another year to say, okay, get me a real number 1. Let me show you what I can do. Or let me show you what I can't do. And you can move on next year because you got 2 1s next year. So you can package yours in the Rams and move up and get somebody next year. They're in a really good spot to address the quarterback when they need to. But I am not against Goff. I don't have a problem with Goff. I think Goff, if you put enough talent around him on both sides of the ball, I think Goff can be the quarterback of the 2023 NFC North champs. And yes, that's me predicting. The 2023 NFC North champs, Jared Goff can be my quarterback.
Okay, now you mentioned Aaron Rodgers going to the Broncos, even though he's also mentioned that he would like to come to Pittsburgh. But you put him in a Bronco uniform, so we'll let that stay for the time being.
Wishful
Uh,
thinking.
but right now, you're Minnesota. You fired the GM. You fired the head coach. But who are you going to get to make Kirk Cousins better? Yeah, I'm down on quarterbacks. That's right.
I see.
You know,
I
mean, come on. You
I'm gonna let Mike have this one first.
you-
I'm gonna let Mike have this one first.
Once again, you have a very talented top 3 and definitely top 5 running back in your league.
Yep.
You have a excellent young wide receiver, at least one. You have a decent offensive line. I'm not saying that you're full of all pros, but you play in a relatively weak division. It's either you or the Packers, but you still got that anchor. I and it's not just because of the unvaccinated thing, but I just do not see Kirk Cousins being a Super Bowl caliber quarterback or a champion for that matter. Mike,
it's going to be tough for Kirk Cousins to be that, but if Trent Dilfer can do it, then I'm not too slighted on it. But if you're the Minnesota organizations, do you look down at Kirk Cousins and say, yeah, that's the guy that's going to bring us a Super Bowl? I don't think so. But he's also not the type that's going to lose a lot of games for you either. So I think he's hit a ceiling on how he's going to be. It's just putting him and the Vikings in the right position and with the defense and getting better on defense and those kind of things that will benefit Kirk Cousins. So it's going to look more to the defense side than it is actually on Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, I love it when the guy before me nails everything and doesn't leave me anything. Doesn't leave me a single point to cover. Thanks a lot, Mike. But he nailed it. One, Kirk Cousins isn't going to get better. Your statement was, who's going to make Kirk? Nobody's going to make Kirk Cousins better. It doesn't matter who they hire. Brian Flores, Kirk Cousins is what he is. Mike used the word plateaued. That's what he is. But they're Minnesota. And I, again, agree with Mike. You don't have to win. I think there's 2 ways to win. If you get a great quarterback and you catch him in the window before he destroys your cap, i.e. second-year Patrick Mahomes. But the other way is to have a game manager or somebody slightly better than a game manager and have a world-class defense. And just ask that guy, don't lose games, which Mike also said. That's what Kirk Cousins is. Problem is, his cap impact is that of a superstar, right? Yes. And that's the real problem. I know you have a problem with him not being vaccinated, but the real problem is his cap number. His cap number restricts what you can do everywhere else around him. If your cap number is being eaten by a quarterback who can single-handedly get you there, Mahomes, potentially one day a Justin Herbert. See, the Charger in a good window. He's still on a rookie deal. He's still getting they can win soon, right? When you eventually have to pay your quarterback, that's when you have trouble. So I think their model was build it on defense. Kirk Cousins, don't lose us games. Hand Dalvin Cook the ball, throw it to Justin Jefferson when we need you to, but don't lose us games. And that model has worked. He referenced Trent Dilfer. You can go back to Brad Johnson. You can look at Joe Flacco. There's a number of guys who won with that model. And if you don't have the superstar quarterback, you almost have to try and build that model. I think Jared Goff can be a quarterback in that model.
Sure.
But like I said, Mike covered everything. Kirk Cousins is who he is. He's not getting better. If you go out and look for interview guys, how can you make Kirk Cousins better? You're not going to have a coach. You're going to have an empty room because, and this is a Michigan State guy we're talking about, but it's balanced out by the fact that he won't get a shot. So I can't even go green with this one because he needs to get a shot. But nobody's making him better, to directly answer your question. And the Vikings are likely, I shouldn't say likely. It depends on what they do with the head coach spot. If they bring in a guy who's the exact opposite of Zimmer, now you got a 3-year retool, relaunch, whatever reword you want to use because you don't want to say rebuild. I'm fine with that. But I think Mike nailed it all. Cousins is who he is. They need to win with defense and a game manager. And but I think his cap number is the problem. Is his real, other than being vaccinated, the cap number is his biggest problem.
Yeah, he takes a lot of that too.
He eats up a lot of your cap, and it restricts what you can do, and you're gonna have to pay Justin Jefferson at some point. So at some point that those chickens are coming home to roost because Jefferson's gonna need a new deal soon. I think Dalvin's on a deal now that is a big time running back deal, but I think it's only a 4-year deal, maybe. So he might, but at some point, Justin Jefferson, somebody's going to pay Justin Jefferson, whether it's you or somebody else. So,
well, let me give you the first shot at the next question because the Giants, they did the same thing. Now, do you think that the Giants have to have an offensive-minded guy this time to keep Daniel Jones as the Giants' starting quarterback, or is this another guy that's, as you say with Kurt, has hit that plateau?
Yeah. I don't know if there was a plateau. I think at the end of the day, you look at that regime, and sometimes, speaking at a GM level, GMs get fired often because they marry themselves to a scheme, a quarterback, or a coach. Like our former GM, Bob Quinn, when he got the job, he fired Jim Caldwell after 1 year when they went 9-7. Caldwell was doing, and he said 9-7 isn't good enough. He went to New England, got Matt Patricia. He married himself to Patricia's scheme, and it was an unmitigated disaster.
Horrible.
Right? So they both got fired together on the same day. Gettleman defined his tenure when he took Daniel Jones with the 6th pick in the first round. That was it. Now, if I'm the new GM, there is no way, and we're after dark, and I want to drop an F-bomb in the middle of that. There is no effing way I am keeping Daniel Jones as my quarterback. That's not for me to say Daniel Jones sucks or is a bad guy or can't go somewhere else and be successful. Not with the New York Giants. If I'm a new GM, I'm hiring my own coach, and we may gut the whole thing. I don't know how to feel about Saquon because it's about injury. Super talented, but he's got to get paid now. I think so what do you do? Do you pay this guy who's not on the field? You cannot continue with this Daniel Jones experiment. It is what it is. And that is not to say he can't go somewhere else and be a better fit, that he's a bad kid or even a bad quarterback. He was Gettleman's guy. And so so let me answer your question. New GM is probably going to want to come in and do his own. And it matters who it is. And if they're offensive minded, that doesn't mean you got to stay married to Daniel Jones, because I don't know that Daniel Jones is this guy we just can't part with. I don't think that's the case. I think you come in and you build your team the way you want, because whether it's Gettleman or Bob Quinn, you're doing what you think is best. And if it doesn't work, you're getting fired. I'm not going to get fired for somebody else's guy. Right? I'll get fired for my own guy. I'm not getting fired for Gettleman's pick. No. So I do everything I can to move on from Daniel Jones, bring in my own guy, ideally Sierra's husband, because he would be a good fit there too. But if you can go get Sierra's husband, why are you going to hang on to Daniel Jones? I don't know. Right. But just philosophically, if I'm a GM getting a new job, in the interview, I'm going to be right up front with you and say, Bill Parcells, or was it Belichick? Somebody said, if you want me to cook dinner, let me buy the groceries. Right? I think it was Parcells. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm responsible for dinner, let me buy the groceries. I am not going to take this expired can of baked beans out of the closet or out of the pantry and make dinner. I want my own guy. So I don't know if I answered your question, Daniel. I don't think Daniel Jones is the starting quarterback for the Giants next year. Almost whoever's the GM. I think that GM and that coach go get their own guy. And I think that's smart. I think it's reasonable. I think Daniel Jones and his agent would understand. I think the ownership of the Giants would understand. That's just how this works. It works that way in regular business. That's, you want your guy. Because if I'm going to go down with the shit, I'm going down with my guy. I'm not going down with that dude's guy. The dude who snuck out the back door and said, I retired. Of course you retired. They asked you to retire. Right? We can call that whatever we want. So, yeah, I'm not a Daniel Jones guy.
Mike, your thoughts on the Giants?
I think Demetrius is correct. I do think they give him. It depends on the situation. Like if they have, because they have so many holes in multiple situations that they have to fill, they might go, okay, well, Daniel Jones is the last hole that we need. Let's look over here. But I also agree that if he's not your guy and he continues to be like, I wanted Daniel Jones to be better. And just like Demetrius saw with the Lions, they've gotten better. Daniel Jones has not gotten better. So what do I want with this guy? And the only reason why I keep him as the starting quarterback is if the other pressing needs, and he's like 5th or 6th on the shopping list, and we're just like, we'll get to it. But do I see him next year or the following year as the starting quarterback? No, I think unless he just really impresses this season coming up, then like Demetrius says, not my guy. I'll just go find somebody else because I'm done with this. He held the blanket while we could, but sooner or later there's just not enough thread to hang on to, and adios.
Yeah, my concern is organizationally for either or both of those jobs, you have to commit to Daniel Jones to get the job. I'm worried that they do that kind of thing. And I've seen
that'd be horrible.
That would be horrible. And maybe it shouldn't be a money decision, but if they're like, hey, this guy's under contract for another 2 years, or probably just 1 plus the option. But if to get the job, you got to commit to Daniel Jones, that's going to be a disaster. Somebody's going to break their word, right? It
will be another, like, what was Jamarcus Russell kind of situation where, you got to commit that he's our starting quarterback.
Exactly.
Well, big weekend coming up, guys. The playoffs are here, and it's wild card weekend. So let's get to our predictions. First game, if you're a football fan, all you have to do is turn on your TV this week. Wife might be a little angry, but
you'll deal with it.
Right. It's a couple weeks.
You'll pay later, but you can play now. Yeah. So let's start with Saturday's matchup: the Raiders against Cincinnati.
This is either going to be a very close game and the Raiders win, or this is just going to be a shellacking by the Bengals. And I'm going to go the Raiders.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I am going to go with his second option. I think you nailed it earlier, Mr. King. The talent level, particularly on the Cincinnati Bengal offense, is the best unit on the field, in my opinion. And I think they're at home, and I think it's a big deal for the organization. I think we're going to see the best Bengal effort we've seen in decades, and I think they're gonna put it on the Raiders.
Yeah, I have to go. Much as I hate this, I have to go with the Bengals here. Talent-wise,
I want to see if you would do that. I want to see if you can muster up to pick the Bengals, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a realist here. Hey, anybody this is now talked about Big Ben the last 2 years. So, anyway, I'm going to pick the Bengals here. I am looking forward to a Bengals Chiefs championships, but we'll see how that works out. So 2 for Cincinnati and 1 for the Raiders. The Queen City against the City of Sin. Okay. Interesting pick here. New England at Buffalo. Demetrius.
So I am going to put it on record now that Buffalo is the team that I like, not just in this game. I like Buffalo in the Super Bowl, right? I like Buffalo to beat Kansas. I like them to win this game. The one caveat, I think is the word I want. It is going to be a different kind of cold Saturday night in Buffalo, New York. It's going to be a special kind of cold. So that can make for a different game. But I think we saw that movie already. And ideally, Buffalo learned from that. At the quarterback position, Stephon Diggs, I'd like the makeup of Buffalo playing games in January. They could prove me wrong. But so that you guys aren't confused by later picks, I'm going to have Buffalo going all the way to the Super Bowl. And I think that this is a good game. This is a cold, tough game, but I think Buffalo has the better team. The mystique of William Steven Belichick doesn't faze me right now. I think that Buffalo's a tested, solid team with a good quarterback and a good coach. I like Buffalo here.
I agree. I as much as I'm not a big Patriots fan just because when you're a Colts fan, you don't like the Patriots.
Not allowed. It's not allowed. It's illegal.
It's not allowed. It's not. They're in completely different divisions, but yeah.
State of Indiana has laws about that, though.
Yeah, it's not a good thing. So and I would like to see Mac Jones as a rookie do well in the playoffs because rookies don't do good in the playoffs. And so that would be really cool to see. But I hate the Patriots. So screw the Patriots, screw Mac Jones. I don't care if he gets buried 100 times. I'm going Buffalo all the way here.
That's awesome.
I like Buffalo here because of the overall talent. I'm not so much about the cold. New England and Buffalo have played each other for years, so I don't think that's a determining factor. I just think Buffalo has much better overall talent. Except in the coaching, coach, you have to give the edge to Belichick, but overall,
Belichick for sure.
Yeah, but overall team, I think you have to give it to Buffalo. Sunday, surprise, surprise, Philadelphia at Tampa Bay. Stranger things have happened. Jacksonville at the Colts, but Mike.
Yeah, that would probably be almost a Jacksonville Indianapolis kind of game if Philadelphia wins this. This should be all Tampa Bay. This to me is just going to be a slaughter fest. This will be the afternoon game where you sort of just take a nap because it's over by like third quarter because it's like 45-7. So you're just like, okay, I'll rest up for the rest of the games. But yeah, Tampa Bay should win this.
Totally agree. Most likely blowout, in my opinion. I would be shocked if it's still competitive at halftime.
Yeah, it's going to look ugly.
Yeah, I think this game gets ugly quick. I like Tampa Bay also. One of my favorite games this week, and I will tell you right now, I am pulling for the 49ers. I love the 49ers' chances against Dallas. I love Debo. I love George Kittle. And the way Jimmy G is playing, I think he's playing with his heart on his sleeve and a chip on his shoulder. I'm taking Dallas. No, I'm taking San Francisco.
I'm going to steal Mike's logic in the Buffalo New England game. I hate Dallas. I hate everything about the Cowboys. I want San Francisco to win. I don't even care about the pick part of this where I'm supposed to be giving football knowledge and blah 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 and zone coverage and what. I hate Dallas. I'm picking the 49ers because I want them to win more than I can possibly express on a podcast without using language that it would embarrass my family.
I actually hate both these teams. These teams, oh man, from the 70s to the 80s to the early 90s, all we got were these teams, and I hated it. Giants showed up a little bit here and there, but yeah, I mean, oh my God. So I hate both these teams. I'll watch it just because I love football, but I really will probably just be doing other things and having the background because I could care less. God, I have to pick a winner. Oh Lord.
That's the game.
This is a tough game. I'm gonna go Dallas. Yeah, why not? Who cares?
We don't need reasons because you hate them both. So
yeah, I think it's gonna be pretty close and flip a coin, and the coin came up head. So
let's see how this next one goes, Mike. I'm interested to see how this next one goes.
I want to ask you guys though, in this particular game, the 49ers weapons. Debo Samuels, George Kittle. Maybe if you get an exceptional play, you can get some play from Ayuk. You can get some Elijah Mitchell.
The weapon is called Bosa.
Yeah,
the weapon is actually called Bosa.
No, well, see, because I'm going the other way because I want to know who Micah Parsons cover. Does he cover George Kittle, or is he a spy for Debo? And can that work for Dallas?
I like Micah Parsons a lot. There is no world where I ask him to cover George Kittle. That is not fair to the kid. Well, not that he's a kid. That's not fair to any human being, any man that plays linebacker in the NFL for the most part. George Kittle's a different kind of guy, right? So I think that let me answer your question. He can probably spy Debo, but Kyle Shanahan has gotten so creative in how he's using Debo Samuel. I don't know that it matters. I'm just going to ask Micah to do what Micah does within our scheme. I'm not going to ask him specifically to focus on any one player because Shanahan will scheme that out of you really quickly. Shanahan will figure that out and adjust. But there's not a world where I ask him to man cover George Kittle. That's a bad idea. I think he won't. He will do his job well. Stay within what you do, Dallas. Do not try and get cute and say Micah cover. That's a bad idea.
What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I agree. I think depending on the situations, they're going to have what Micah Parsons does best, and I do see him covering a little bit. I do see him out as a spy. It's all down distance and situation, so where they're on the field. But he's going to be a very, very busy linebacker.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, let's just have some fun. Pittsburgh
all yours, bro.
Kansas.
All yours. You can have it.
Pittsburgh against Kansas City. Okay. The fan in me, the Pittsburgh fan in me wants to, I'm like the Furion and, Riddick. The Furion in me wants to see my Steelers do the same thing that Jacksonville did to the Colts.
Why are we punishing Mike so much tonight, man? It's like we won't let up. Oh my God. Sorry, Mike. I didn't think that one was necessary, bro. I'm sorry.
So
it's like when a parent yells at you and punishes you and starts to leave out the door, and you're like, "Okay, it's over," and they turn around and give you a couple more.
We're not done yet.
Well, so I am. The fan to me is taking the Chiefs.
What? I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
I'm taking the Chiefs, but I'm pulling for my Steelers.
Wait, what
can I say?
You're okay. All right. I guess we'll live with that.
Now, remember, this is the same guy that's trashed Big Ben for 2 years.
Yes, I know. I know.
This is the same guy when you pointed out that about the Steelers getting the playoff games. I showed you. I talked about that 123 yards.
Yes.
So.
I will warn you guys that.
So am I going to be pleased if we get 128 yards out of Big Ben and one touchdown and one interception?
It's personal with you and Ben. It's so personal.
When he retires, are you going to miss him?
I know, right? He's going to send him email. I will tell you one thing. When the Lions make the playoffs, I don't care who they're playing, where the game is, what network is. I'm picking the Lions. I'm picking the Lions every time. Every single, I don't care. But in this game, I'm picking the Chiefs.
Yeah, no doubt.
In this game, I'm picking the Chiefs. You're my guy, but they're the better.
I'm realistic. Like I said, my heart, I'm and I'm looking back at history here because the last time we won the Super Bowl, we made it as a wild card team. So the fan in me is pulling for my Steelers, and but like I said, when I match up talent, even though Tyreek has had, his last few weeks have been rather bad. I mean, the Chiefs are still loaded.
Yeah,
and they still have that guy back there in the backfield named Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
So, am I going to depend on Big Ben or Patrick Mahomes? I think everybody knows the answer to that.
Right. But I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I don't think this is going to be some kind of mismatch. I think this is going to be a game the Chiefs are going to have to earn.
Well, once again, just like you talk about the cold, we don't know what temperature it's going to be in Canada at Arrowhead.
This is the night game too, right?
Yeah, right. But the
Yeesh.
Steelers are built to play in the
Right.
cold. So so
and the one place the Steelers are never at a disadvantage is on the sideline, right?
right.
Outside, I love and I like Andy Reid. I'm not going to say anybody, probably not named Belichick, is a better coach than Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
Right? There's guys in this grouping that you have to acknowledge. Belichick is the best probably to ever do it. Outside of that guy, I'm not going to just randomly. That guy's a significantly better coach than Mike Tomlin. I don't know who that guy is, and I like Shanahan, and I like Andy Reid. There's a number of guys that I like. I like BA and McDermott, all of that. I'm not going to say objectively they're better than Mike Tomlin, though.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there are going to be some distractions because we know that at least two of the coaches from Kansas City are going to get calls for interviews.
Yeah.
So, like I said, the fan in me is pulling for my Steelers. The realistic sports guy is saying, hey, you got a lot of things to overcome. So, I would love to knock out Kansas City and Cincinnati. That of course that would but So hey, but I gotta at least pretend that I know a little bit about sports. So I'm going with Kansas City.
Yeah, I'm going to Kansas City. And I really hope they demolish the Steelers. To be honest with you, because I've had enough of Steelers beating the Colts in the playoffs. I had that twice. The Jim Harbaugh Hail Mary that fell short.
I love how we're getting unapologetic. I don't give a damn Mike tonight. That Colts loss, he's like, to hell with it. I hate the Patriots. I hate the 49ers and the Cowboys and damn the Steelers. And so would everybody.
Yeah, there's a lot of frustration built up with, especially the Steelers and the Raiders. And, oh my goodness! It's not only they get the Raiders in my upbringing, but when I transferred to the Colts, they got the Colts as well. They get both the teams I really like, and yeah, I want to see the Chiefs just stomp on the Steelers in 3, or they'll be in Kansas City. But yeah, plus I'm not going to be too worried about this game. This is all going to be Chiefs.
Monday night matchup. I think this is the first Monday night wild card game that we've ever had, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think they had it last year. I thought it was strange when they announced it, but I'm not 100% sure, but I think it is.
Yeah. Yep. And we get a very competitive game here. I kind of like, you want to start comparing the quarterbacks, the wide receiver core, even the injuries are similar.
Yeah.
So the Cardinals at the Rams. Mike.
I think this is going to be a very good game. I don't know if I would. Yeah, I think this is the perfect Monday night game, in fact. And it's going to be really close. Because it's going to be close, and plus it's going to be down the wire, I'm going to have to go to the home team and go with the Rams.
Demetrius.
Yeah. I have this for me because the Lions are done. This is where my rooting interest lies. People who know me, and you guys may know because I probably have said it, I am unapologetically a fan of Matthew Stafford. I want this so badly for Matthew Stafford that I can't even quantify. I generally don't care about players once they take off my uniform. My deal, it's kind of like La Cosa Nostra. You're dead to me. You no longer play for my team, you're dead to me. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care.
That is not the case with this guy. I've done final thoughts on how good a citizen he was in the city of Detroit, how good a guy I think he is, and more important than all that, an unbelievable quarterback. And I think it is only because he wore the blue and silver jersey that people did not realize. He is still dealing with stains from what he didn't do in our jersey. I want so badly for Matthew Stafford to have success this postseason because it will redefine his career. It will redefine the perception. If he gets them to the championship, NFC championship game, or even to the Super Bowl, which, yeah, he has to play a game in Lambeau Field. He has not played well there historically, but he'd have to win a game in Green Bay, Wisconsin. more than anything, this postseason for me is redemption for a guy who deserves it. And I'm a fan. Again, I'm not objective when it comes to Matthew Stafford. I am a big fan of number 9, and I want him to be successful. I'm picking him in this game. I'm picking him all the way. I want the Rams in the Super Bowl playing Buffalo, and I want Matthew Stafford to hold up a trophy. Right now, I just want him to get one playoff win so people can stop saying that.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a product of inept Detroit management, not Matthew Stafford's talent.
Right.
So let's get that monkey off our back Monday night. And if God willing, and this guy is holding up a trophy in 4 or 5 weeks, very few people will be happier than me. Non-Rams fans would be happier than me. I want this for that guy. And that's where my rooting. So every game going forward, blank team versus the Rams, I'm picking the Rams. every time, because I want it.
Mike.
He already picked the Rams, didn't you?
Yeah, I got the Rams in this one. And I'm also a fan of Matthew Stafford. He gets a very bad rap, but he's a lot better than what people think. Unfortunately, people tie losses and overall team performance, which boggles my mind considering you have at any time 33 different interchangeable parts, and all of a sudden it's the quarterback's fault because you don't win, or he's bad because it doesn't work that way. So I 100% agree. I want to see Stafford, and I think that won. So
and I would say to people who are like, oh, this is not just a bias. I saw all but 2 games this guy played. Every play of all but 2 games. I'm telling you, when I look at quarterback play, I always look at it in 2 ways: decisions and throws, right? Like, did you make the right decision where to go with the football, and then your arm talent? Yeah. There are not many guys with the arm talent of Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you have that kind of arm talent, you take risks. You did. He played for the Lions. He had to take shots. I challenge you to go look at his comebacks. There were times when the other team scored, and I said they left Matthew Stafford too much time. And he's got 30-something comeback wins in his career. His arm talent is off the charts. Off the field, we talked earlier about Dave Bing. Matthew Stafford was just a good dude in the city of Detroit. And you have me. If you're a good dude, you and your wife do things in the community, hospitals, and that's a good dude, man, who deserved better than he got because he played for an organization that historically, not going forward, didn't always do the best by his players. So I'm rooting for that guy.
Well, let me bring the voice of logic here.
Here we go.
Conversation here.
Okay. About to get a Kyler Murray speech up here.
No, you're not going to get it. Matthew Stafford. In the words of Dennis Green, he is who we thought he is.
Very good. Yeah. That's what I thought he was.
The loser that he was in Detroit.
Oh, no.
It's the same loser that he's going to be in Los Angeles.
No.
You're killing me, bro. You are killing me right now.
Matthew Stafford and Big Ben should have a retirement party together.
No.
Matthew Stafford will get the Rams exactly where they are now to a playoff and no further.
He's so much more talented than Ben Roethlisberger. He just played for a worse organization than Ben Roethlisberger. If the Steelers would have had Stafford for the last 12 years, they'd have 3 rings. I'm sorry. He's significantly better than Ben. And you will never see it.
Well, this is
go ahead. I'm sorry. This is your time. My bad.
This is a game that will prove that to me, because I do not think that the Rams are built to go to the Super Bowl. I do not think that they will get past Arizona. And the reason why is because the Rams play up to their competition. They don't play better than their competition. If Kyler Murray smacks him in the mouth in the first quarter, the Rams will never recover. And it's not due to talent.
You're going to blame Matthew Stafford, right?
Of course. Of course. I blame Big Ben. I'm going to blame Stafford for this one. I do not think that the Rams made a good move when they traded Stafford for Goff.
Wow.
I don't think you don't want to send me the link next Thursday to if he does what I think he's going to do, don't send me the link next Thursday. I am going to be the biggest asshole in the history of podcasts.
I have look, whatever, bring it. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it
I'm so excited now.
because I know that if things go the way that I think they are, I'm going to hear a whole lot about how deficient my Steelers were against Kansas City. So, as everyone knows, on this show, my second favorite meal is crow. So bring it. I'm not mad.
Yeah, no, let me ask this question though. You think Arizona's a better football team? Stafford stuff aside, you think Arizona's a better team?
No.
Okay. You just think the Rams aren't going to play up to their capabilities.
Right.
Okay.
Precisely.
All right. That'll be interesting. Now I'm getting really excited.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need that link next Thursday. I'm gonna need that link next Thursday.
Hey,
send me the wrong link by mistake. Or dang, I forgot.
No. Hey, I not only will I send you the link, but I will make sure that this will be on top. Now,
leave off with this.
Now, remember, you see what just happened to Mike.
Oh, I know.
Okay, so
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
so I just want you to know that I also serve crow.
I got you. I'll have a bottle of hot. If it's appropriate, I have a bottle of hot sauce right now. I have a bottle of hot sauce in the screen. If it's appropriate, I do not believe it will be, but we'll see.
Hey, as always, man, I love it. I love this show, man. I love talking to you guys.
I missed it. I'm glad you're back, man.
You know,
got to see my guy Mike rocking.
Yeah, I got to see.
Is that a Golden State Warriors hat you rocking?
Yes, sir.
Nice.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And a sweatshirt.
It's a nice hat. I like it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
You notice he didn't come in when Golden State was losing by 40, but that's all right.
I pick my battles. I know what
that hat was on his head since tip. That hat's been on his head since tip off.
Mike, they saw me and you Saturday, talk about our predictions and whatnot. So tonight, since the world traveler's here, we're gonna give him the last word. What's your final thoughts, Mike?
I'm just excited about this weekend and Monday. I think that's great that they're extending the Monday Night Football playoff, and this is the time of the year I really look forward to as far as teams go. I hope they are close games. I want to see just rugged football, bruising, and 100% mile per hour, and going after the quarterback, and reckless abandonment, and just utter war, the whole situation that football is built around. So we have, I think, 3 games this week that are played that are going to be in frigid weather. So that should be fun. Hopefully these aren't blowouts. Hopefully these are just, I want to see those defensive battles, those, 20-14, 20-17 games, and just really, really fun football. So that's what I'm thinking about right now.
Nice.
Demetrius.
I'm gonna go off script because every now and then something unique happens, and it's weird that in the last few weeks we're losing a lot of big time people.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. And so it's not sports related, but it is related to my personal joy, my mom, and my people. Right. Sidney Poitier is different. Right. Sidney Poitier is at a different level. And this isn't your Monday night show, but the word representation is important. And I've talked about this a little bit before, and I'm not going to go too deep. And Mike's our guy. He's honorary African-American. He can handle this. Representation is such a big deal. And like right now, I tell people all the time, there are little girls in this country of color who have a different set of beliefs because of Kamala Harris. They just do. You can like that or not like that. But if you're not one of those people who don't understand what representation means, for a lot of people, seeing Sidney Poitier on screens and holding awards and carrying and conducting himself with a dignity and a class that simply was unmatched in the 60s at a different time. And Mr. King could probably speak to this better than me. He is a different deal, right? It's not just that dude was a good actor. You can say that. There's some good actors. A lot of good actors.
You can really call him Mr. Tibbs.
Mr. Tibbs.
Yeah,
It is so significant, the contribution he made to the culture. It's impossible for me to quantify in a short period. But I knew whenever I get back on the Sports Crib, whenever my life and my work and my travels allow me to get back on the Sports Crib, I have to acknowledge Sidney Poitier. It's that big a deal. And there are people who are meaningful and special and do a lot of great things. This individual, as an activist, as a performer, as a dignified, classy representation of people who look like me, was really, really important. And you can't acknowledge him enough. So I don't have to get deep or too much about, because it's, anybody who's listening probably agrees with me, right? My thoughts on this are not unique and special. We all know. But that's one I have to acknowledge. That's a big deal. And he contributed for 90 years, right? Or a significant time, 50, 60 years he contributed in so many ways. And if you don't know and you think he was just a great actor, you need to Google him and look at all of the contributions and hold
Broadway. You could look at Broadway, Othello. I mean, there's
hold that man in the reverence he deserves. And I think that when we lose people, and I think Betty White was phenomenal. Love Betty White, right? But it was funny. There's great people. We talked about Dan Reeves and Madden, and it's tough. It's been tough for a little while here.
Yes.
But I believe sometimes there's someone who is in a different place, on a different level. And Sidney Poitier, like as an actor, as a man, as an African American, as an activist, he deserves special recognition. And I could not resist the opportunity to just mention that. To me, that one needs to be recognized. So rest in peace. And his legacy is without question. You know, he impacted people's lives, you know, significantly. So.
All right. Well, hey guys, as always, great show. Love talking to everyone.
Absolutely.
And look forward to talking to you again next Thursday. Let's see. Let's see who has the crow under the coffin.
Yeah, you better go to the store and buy some hot sauce. Go to the store and get some bottle of hot sauce. You're gonna need it.
Hey, you know, I've eaten so much on this show. I've learned to eat it just like it is. You know, like like raw dog. You know, like
tastes like chicken. Tastes like chicken, man. Tastes just like chicken.
No, crow tastes like crow. I'm sorry.
Crow does not taste.
You know, there's some things that you just can't sweeten. So
not enough hot sauce in the world.
Have a great night, guys. I'll talk
guys.
to you next Thursday.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Take care.